Big news. I have some important news for you.
Interesting news.
It's Blake and Aaron's Spilling the Tea with Sandy.
Cayman's top news headlines of the day from CMR.
Brought to you on Kiss FM exclusively by J. Michael, fashion for everyone. Good morning, Sandy.
Hi, good morning, Blake and Aaron. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Awesome. All right. So former Governor Martin Roper has announced that he is retired officially from public service after 30 years.
Oh,
really?
Yeah. So he said that he's retiring from the Foreign and Commonwealth and Development Office June the 8th officially after some 39 years in His Majesty's now diplomatic service. And he said that he's really proud to look back on a long, eventful, and fulfilling career of public service.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. So he started his journey back in the Middle East Department back in 1984.
I don't think he's done with politics, though.
Okay.
I don't think so.
I mean, this isn't technically a diplomat. Normally, isn't seen as a politician, but you think he's going to continue to?
He was the governor.
I don't know.
Yeah, he's supposed to be.
He wants to go enjoy. He wants to go enjoy.
Well, we'll see.
Grandkids,
Retire a little bit. Yeah.
We'll see. He's not that old. We'll see.
Congratulations to 10-year-old Ava Crane, who won the NYC logo competition. So little Ava has won the National Youth Commission's recent logo competition, and she was one of among 40 entries. So congratulations to her. She actually won $1,000.
Nice.
So yeah, this is fantastic for a 10-year-old.
Man, what do you do with $1,000 as a 10-year-old?
Probably put it in your savings account towards that future education. Yeah.
I don't think so.
Maybe spend a little bit of it.
Candy.
So,
Totally.
Minister for Youth, Sports, Culture, and Heritage, Honorable Bernie Bush, handed over the donation of $1,000 to Ava recently at her school, and she attends Village Montessori, located in Cayman Islands. So, congratulations, little Ava.
Sweet.
Well done.
Yeah, if I were her parents, I'd be like, yeah, you can start paying your way around this house. You can pay that CUC bill.
Goodness, shame on you.
Yeah, right.
Congratulations to Cayman Art Week. They've had another eventful and successful event. In fact, we understand from them that this is the most people that they've had attend and participate in their events. An awesome year.
Yeah, they do a great job.
Yeah, it went by so quickly, though. I mean, I'm like a week. Maybe they need to do like an art month or something. But anyway, we start with a week. Hundreds of art fans attended exhibitions, open studios, pop-ups, and events across all three of the Cayman Islands, making CAW 23 the biggest and most busy one to date. So congratulations on all of the participants. Of course, the founder and creative director, Natalie, did a fantastic job from the National Gallery. And lots of artists, visual artists, were participating in this event as well. So, congrats!
Tell you what, Cayman has some great artists. I saw some of that art. It was, I would put that in my house.
Oh, absolutely!
Oh, amazing!
Great.
And it's a good opportunity for people in the community to support local artists and to buy their artwork. So, I know that the previous year they had over $200,000 in artwork sold during that week. Hopefully, they double that this year. I think that'd be fantastic once they get the numbers in.
Yep.
The Cayman Islands Judicial Administration has announced that members of the public can now make payments for some court-related matters online. So this is fantastic.
Wait, hold on. Just finally, it's 2023.
I know, but guess what? They're ahead of the game with some other departments and so on. But anyway, so Statement Gateway, this online portal, can be accessed via their website, judicial.ky. And I must take my hats off to the Honorable Chief Justice Margaret Ramsey. She's very, very forward thinking, and she's got a lot of things in the works.
Yeah.
So some improvements for those of us who have to use the judicial website and the system. Improvements have already been made, and I think she's keen to really make it more user friendly. And so this is another positive step in that direction. So you can do payment of traffic and speeding tickets online finally. Payment of spousal and child maintenance. Oh, this is fantastic.
Yep.
Payment of notary fees, which I'm a notary, so I did that this past year, but not through the payment portal, but still it was done online. And other professional licenses. It just makes life so much easier to not have to go and stand in line. It was like an annual ritual every January 31st to go there and see who else was doing it last minute, the renewal of their notary services. And then there was this long line going out the door at the cashier at the judiciary. So it's nice to not have to do that anymore. You can kind of sneak in your payments last minute and nobody has to know.
Yep.
So, and then one final matter, court case.
Can you notarize your own stuff?
I was going to say the
No.
same thing.
You can?
Yeah.
I wish, because every time I need to notarize something,
That's what I mean. What would be the point of getting being a notary if you couldn't do your own stuff?
helping other people.
Wait, so they trust you enough to make you a notary, but not trust you enough to notarize your own stuff.
Yeah, it's seen as a conflict, which you can understand. So no family members
don't
as well. Like no
Oh, you
close,
can't do family members either.
Oh,
okay.
really?
no close family members.
Okay.
Houses and stuff like that. Yeah.
Mm.
So Court of Appeal has dismissed an application by Andre Keene, who applied for leave to appeal against a sentence of 11 years imprisonment for the importation of 0.63 kilos of cocaine in a tin of cheese. Remember that case?
I don't.
Yeah.
But
So Keene, who's a Jamaican, was living in Georgetown. And he didn't transport the cocaine himself, but reportedly arranged for its transportation into the Cayman Islands. So he was contending that the sentence, was too much, and the Court of Appeal said, "Nope, go back to prison, and you're going to be staying there."
Mm.
So yeah,
no longer bun and cheese; it's bun and coke.
I know, pretty crazy, but those are your news headlines this morning.
Oh, dear Lord.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow for the Friday headline.
I'm going to put you in the naughty corner.
Right?
See you tomorrow.
All righty. Oh my goodness. What a beautiful Thursday morning. Happy Thursday, everyone.
Bigger, better, bolder. The cold, hard truth is taking talk to the next level. Right here on Bobo 89.1 FM, Cayman's Community Radio.
We are still spilling the tea.
And committed to being part of the change that Cayman so desperately needs. Join Sandy Hill weekdays from 7:30 a.m. for Premier Access, Cayman Voices, Truthful Thursdays, and much more. Cayman's #1 talk show is now bigger, better, bolder, and more than talk. Getting results with hot topics, consumer reports, court exposés, and more.
Come to set the record straight. I've come to shine the light on you. Let me introduce myself. I am the cold, hard truth.
Now, from the CMR studio in Grand Cayman,
Live, direct.
it's the cold, hard truth. Now, join the conversation on 345-936-2626.
That number again is
345-936-2626.
All right, good morning. Happy Thursday. How is everyone doing today? What a beautiful day. Looks like we have the possibility of some beautiful heavenly showers, but I'm going to predict more sunshine than rain. How about that? I'm not your local weather woman. I'm just telling you, my prediction is more sunshine than rain. A little bit of rain here and there sprinkled throughout. We've been getting a lot of it in the last week, and I like rain. I don't have any problems with the rain, except two things. Bad drivers seem to get worse with a little bit of downpour. And of course, the mosquitoes. My friendly mosquitoes are biting me every which way. I mean, these mosquitoes are lethal. They're biting through clothes. I've got 2 big bite marks on what thigh is that? My left thigh. And I'm outside more now because I've got Zeus, the new family dog that I have to walk like 50 million times a day, trying to get him potty trained. And so, yes, I'm outside a lot and they're able to feast on me. So last night, big shout out to the Italian kitchen, to Troy and his wonderful wife there. We have a friend visiting from overseas, and we decided to take them out to dinner. Living in Savannah area, Lower Valley, sometimes I just don't feel like going West Bay Road. I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I actually enjoy patronizing the businesses on this other side of the island as well. So I said, you know what? Let's go to Italian Kitchen and go check them out. Their food is amazing. I had a lobster and shrimp risotto. I couldn't eat it all because I was saving room for dessert. I know what y'all are thinking now. Sandy, how are you going to lose those 50 pounds if you're still having dessert? But anywho, I literally had a couple spoonfuls of the risotto, so I'll have that later on for leftovers. But it was so good. OMG. Oh, I was just like, I'm in heaven right now, but I'm only going to eat a couple spoonfuls. And I actually started out with a nice beet salad. I love me a good beet salad. If you know me, I actually love salads. And the beet salad was delish. And so, yeah, big shout out to the Italian Kitchen. Go and support businesses in the Eastern districts. Not lots, but there's some good restaurants out that way. So had a fantastic time doing that. And when we got back in, I think somebody left the door open for a couple seconds while people were like coming and going, and the amount of mosquitoes that came in. So I got my fly swatter, which I've actually never used for mosquitoes before. But it occurred to me that this can be used for mosquitoes just as well as flies. So I was like manually killing them whenever I could catch them, because mosquitoes can be fast. I was, slapping them and killing them. And then I got the fly swatter, folks, and that fly swatter, you could hear it zapping them left, right, and center. And everybody was amazed at how well I did with the fly swatter. They're like, girl, you got some skills. And I said, this is from years of playing tennis, squash, and now pickleball. My eye-hand coordination is actually really, really good. So yes, honey Chad, I was slapping them left, right, and center. So good morning. Oh my goodness. Sorry. Good morning to everybody. So Juliet says the pizza and pasta is awesome. Yeah, it was really, really good. Patricia, good morning to you. How are you? Miss Charlotte joining us from Scotland. Siobhan joining us from Georgetown. Diamond Princess is here. We've got Miss Vicky Marshall says that was funny. Bun and Coke. I know. Blake makes me laugh. I thought that was hilarious. It's no longer bun and cheese. Listen, these drug dealers, they're trying to, sneak stuff in any way that they can. Vicky says, for who can do it online, old people only knows clothesline. So, that was funny how the caller said yesterday, the only line that she understands is the clothesline in her backyard. Listen though, Vicky, I want to be honest with you. I heard the comments from our seniors yesterday about struggling a little bit to keep up, and I get it, and I'm sympathetic, but I also know that there's no going backwards in life, not when it comes to technology. And we've all adjusted. Remember back in the day when we had those brick phones? We didn't even have smartphones. Like if you wanted it, they were called what? PDAs, personal something device. No, personal assistant devices or personal something like that. They predated the smartphones. And so you had to put like your little schedules in there and try to keep your life organized. So we had it separated, the phone plus that. And some people never really got into those. And now look at us. We've got smartphones that are smarter than some of us. We're not going to go backwards. So I hear your concerns. And I think that some of you seniors could do with a couple computer courses. You could do with a little bit, there's apps like CUC said, okay, their phone app is coming. Have somebody help you set it up, and then you can handle your affairs. And, I do get it though. And some people say, oh, these elderly, the seniors are going to get taken advantage of even more. I think you get taken advantage of when you're doing stuff manually and you have to physically go into a bank. When you get older, you can't move around as much. You have to physically go into a bank. I mean, how often are you actually doing that? You're trusting other people to go do your little bank deposits for you and withdrawals and whatever. And next thing you know, they'd be stealing all your money and you don't even know it till 6, 7, 8 months later. If you had that in front of you and you could check it every day and be looking at your money, you'd know every transaction that goes through. So I just want to say to anyone who is senior, embrace the concept that you can handle a smart device, that you can get online, that you can do more, you can challenge yourself. There's nothing wrong with most of your brains. So don't admit defeat before you've even gotten started. Damaris is watching us from Queens. Melissa, Nadine, So yesterday, you guys were aware that we were having a bit of an issue with the connection. Thank God it's fixed this morning. Because literally every 5 minutes and 1 second, I was watching it and looking at the time very carefully, it was dropping. And so after a minute, Chuck made the executive decision, which was the right thing to do, to just play Al Jazeera News. Because I physically cannot sit here and keep clicking and connecting every 5 minutes and 1 second of a 3-hour long show, right? And so we just had to admit defeat. And I had some of you calling, like, what's going on? You're not on radio now. And listen, I get it. I know you guys love radio. And I know it's appealing to people stuck in traffic, as well as some of our seniors who, again, might not have access to a computer, but you don't need a computer. You got your smartphones. And I know y'all have smartphones. We're on YouTube. Even on your smartphone, you can go through the webpage and listen to Bobo 89.1. Very, very easy to do. And you just save that page in your favorites, in your browser, on your phone, or you open up Facebook, you open up YouTube, and there it is. So challenge yourself. It's easy to say, oh my gosh, I can't do that. I understand the limitations, but I say don't give up too easily. You can do it. Look at this, Michelle, joining us from Melbourne, Australia. So isn't that fantastic? We got people, Caymanians, first of all, and people all over the world constantly tuned into the show. And I think that this is great. This is fantastic. And that's because of modern technology. So imagine if you're a senior living in the UK. Miss Darlene, she's a senior. She's in the UK and she's tuned in every single morning. She's even got her friends and leads listening to the Cold Hard Truth. They're like, we don't know who Sandy is, but we're tuned in and enjoying the show, right? So that's the amazing reach that we have because of technology. So we've got to embrace it and try to do our best to really move forward with it. Years ago, you guys know that I have a company called Micromatrix, and for like 20 years, we've done training and all sorts of stuff, right? And, at one point we were doing free training for anybody really, but, really focusing on seniors in particular, who would go to the library. I would bring all the computers, we'd set them up and offer training services. We need more of that. We need computer labs and training services in every single district. The public libraries have some computer access. I don't honestly know how many computers, but I know there's some there. If you don't have a computer, you don't have a little laptop, it's worth investing in one. Now you can get them, they're not that expensive anymore. You can get one very, very economical. And for what it is that you're doing with it, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. It's not like you're doing graphic design as a 80-year-old. Well, you might be, and that would be fantastic. But if you're not, you're just surfing the internet. You just go into your little Facebook account, maybe check an email. You can get an extremely reasonable a laptop for you to be able to do those things. You can do it from your phone, but I recognize, sometimes myself, I like to log in, even my bank account, I like to log it in the computer where the screen is much bigger and I can see things a little bit better. And if I need to print something, it's a lot easier to do. And for those of us who are, around seniors, help them out. You know what I'm saying? You hear them saying that they're struggling with some of the technology. Offer your services. Say, yes, I can help you get online. You take them to CNB, make CNB hook them up with online banking and all that kind of stuff, and then show them how the app works. You literally can look at every single transaction, debits and credits that come into your account through your online banking system. It keeps a full log of everything for you. So I would say that there's a lot that we can do to help ourselves. So don't give up, right? Aliano, good morning. He says there's small mini PCs with bare bone hardware for good prices on Amazon. Yes, like a couple $100. You can get what's called a form factor, like a small form factor PC. Like they're literally like a little box like this. They're still considered desktops, but they're like super the actual sort of hardware part of it that contains all the memory and everything else is really, really small, and they're good enough for what you guys are going to need. You attach a little bit of a monitor to that, and you're good to go. So You got to embrace it. Listen, technology is scary. I get it. I do understand, believe it or not. And I can sympathize. And every time I try something new, I'm like, oh my gosh, is this going to work? When I went to New York in January. But I have an attitude. I probably can't break it, is my perception, right? I'm like, just try it and see what happens. What's the worst that can happen? Kind of an attitude. And I embraced that taxi cab app like you would not believe. I was ordering me a taxi, paying online. And then by the second day, though, I kind of figured out that most of it in that area, I could just walk. So I was like, put on my walking shoes. Let's go. It was cold, but hey, I got my little exercise in. So, yeah, we have different comfort levels with different things. And sometimes you've got to push yourself beyond your comfort level. Dive into the deep end and sink or swim. And you can swim, believe me. So ask for help. Don't be ashamed to ask for help if you need it. I know that a lot of you have gotten the little portable radios. Thank you so much, Julian. He's reminding me it was called PDA, Personal Digital Assistant. That's right. And he's tuned in this morning. But yes, I know that, we had given away a lot of those little portable radios. And a lot of you enjoy listening on that, and you can recharge it. And you know what, too? The beauty of it is during a storm, maybe when you have no power, those little radios, as long as you got them charged now, don't forget to charge them, you'll be good to go. So this person says, good morning. Is there any way I can help out seniors one-on-one to learn the technology aspect? I'm willing to do that. And I'd like to bring on my teenage son. I know it's a risk. I'd like to do it. Why not? Pair up with each other, pair up a senior with, So I tell you what, I have this person's information. If you are a senior and you're interested in learning a little bit more about technology, we have one volunteer already this morning. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? She's willing to work with you guys, help you out. So message, I see absolutely nothing wrong with that. So that's great. I'm working on a couple things. I've got a couple things in the pipeline for you guys. We're going to be doing a Cayman Voices segment probably on Monday. So what we'll do for those of you on radio who missed yesterday's show because of the dropping in and out, right? I've given Chuck the audio for yesterday's show, and he's going to air that tomorrow. So it'll be a replay, but it was actually a really fantastic show. We had the chief fire officer there for the city of Orlando. Very, very knowledgeable information, folks. I thought he was great. And then come to find out he's a chef on the side. So he's been in a couple of these reality chef shows, Master Chef and so on. And so we got into a little bit of that towards the end of the discussion. So that was super interesting. Good morning to Miss Iva. Good morning to Cayman Kind Committee. Irvelyn says, Sandy, can you tell me why CUC is charging for renewable energy when we don't have solar? So this would have been a question yesterday, Irvelyn, to ask them because they were actually here on the show. So the short of it, though, is that how the renewable energy works is that everybody is sharing the cost of it to make it more affordable for those who want to get it. So there's some, I'm sure they can do a better job of explaining this than I am, but there is, a cost to it. And so one thing I must say with CUC is how you guys know all this stuff is they're very transparent with their billing. Other companies charge you for everything too. It's just that you don't see it on your bill as an itemized item. You just see a total and you don't know what's included in that total, right? So, the arrangement with government is that, listen, we're trying to go more towards renewable energy, and there's a cost that comes to that. There's a cost to the consumer, and there's a cost to the country, and there's a cost to CUC and everybody else. So there is a small fee attached to your bill to kind of spread out some of the costs. You still have to go out there and purchase your solar panels and get a quote for all that stuff. But, yesterday would have been the perfect day to ask that question of CUC, but we'll send it to them. And next time they're on, we'll ask them directly, because like I said, I think, Yeah. So I understand that you might not want to pay it, but if you sat down and worked out the numbers and how it's opening up the grid and allowing everyone access to it is something that it's doable. Now, listen, people like to complain. So a lot of people, oh, solar this and solar that. And I think to myself, if you don't want solar and you complain about that, what is going to make you happy? Because those same people, if you had wind, windmills up, they'd be complaining about that as well. You just can't make some people happy, I think is the bottom line, right? And if you want to continue to, use electricity, which is a privilege, a lot of places in the world don't have it. You'd be surprised how many people worldwide do not have access to things like electricity and clean water and all these things that we take for granted and complain about every single day. And not just electricity, but reliable electricity, folks. Go out there and get your own generators and start doing it yourself. KK says CUC needs competition. Something needs to happen. Well, I can tell you that competition in that space, although it's not impossible, it's not going to be what you think. You know the money that it takes to do and set up what CUC has in place? And you're not going to have very many people who are willing to come in and build out a plant like that and put in that kind of infrastructure. I'm talking about, if I had to guess, easily the hundreds of millions of dollars, possibly even pushing closer to the $1 billion mark. It is a lot of money to have a power plant. That's not the same as even telecom, although that's expensive. It's a lot more expensive than some people realize. The infrastructure involved is an enormous investment. It's not an easy thing to do. And you'll find that, you might find one other company that think that they can come in here and do it, right? And then what? They're going to be making demands. Well, we need access to CUC's grid, and CUC is going to be like, no, we spent 40, 50 years building this. Why should we allow you to come in and take advantage? If you want competition, go get solar. That's your best, most direct way right now to give CUC competition. Get solar and come off the grid. Get yourself a backup generator. And when you start seeing what's involved in managing it yourself, I think you might start to be a little bit more grateful towards CUC. I'm not here singing that they're perfect, but I'm saying y'all would be shocked and surprised at what you could have. Yeah. So there's a saying about be careful what you wish for. I would say be careful what you wish for. Go live somewhere else for a minute. Someone recently was saying, in Bermuda, they just increased their minimum wage to $16 and something US. So everybody's like, oh yeah, this is great. Why can't Cayman have, minimum wage and at $16 US? So I have a guy here on my news group, and he laughed and he said, come on now. He said, people cannot be this shallow and not fully understand. He's like, do people understand? Have they ever been to Bermuda? Have they lived in Bermuda? He said, do you know how expensive, they complain about Cayman. He said, do you know how expensive Bermuda is? He said, Sandy, their gas and fuel is $9.97, call it 10, right up to $10 per imperial gallon. That's US dollars right now. So it's $8 CI, plus they pay payroll tax. Go check out the cost of housing, everything else. This guy laughed. He's like, yeah, that's great for them that they can increase their minimum wage to $16.40. But trust me, that $16.40 doesn't stretch where people are thinking, because the cost of living in Bermuda makes Cayman look like we're poor and doing like great with our cost of living. Everything is relative, isn't it? And unfortunately, most people don't know the relativity of it all. And so they jump in and make all sorts of assumptions. So here, I've just gotten a response from CUC. I sent it to them. They're paying attention. And they said that we take the energy mix, which is a combination of generator-driven and renewable-driven, and the cost of that energy is reallocated to customers. We buy energy from solar producers. See, this is the side of it that I had no idea. That's why I said it's better just to ask them. So they buy energy from solar producers and sell it back to customers. So it's just like fuel. They're selling it back to you. They're making you pay for the cost of it. And they say our Road to Renewables.ky page has a good explainer section on how more solar will impact bills. And I will take this now, Irvelin, and share it for all of you here in the comment section so that you can go and read up on this stuff yourself. Every business passes through their cost to you, whether you see it or not. Good morning, Miss Sue. She says, why have the CUC bills gone up? Why do we keep asking this question every single May and June? I do not understand it. It's called the summer months, folks. Do we really have to rehash this summer? Every single year, like clockwork. You know how I know how bad it is? Facebook has memories and they remind you of what you were doing 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 5 years ago, last year, whatever. And like clockwork, I can go right now, I'm sure of it. Let me go on Facebook. And it always shows me the same thing. People complain about CUC every single June. That's why they were on here last month saying, folks, we know the higher bills are coming. We know the summer months are here. Do your electricity audits, right? Make sure you're as efficient as possible. Have y'all been outside recently? The heat is next level. At night, I'm hotter than usual, and I'm pretty sure it's not menopause yet. So I'm having to dip the air conditioning even lower than it was before. This is called the heat of it all, folks. Stop asking the same question every year when y'all should know the answer by now. In the summer months, you use more electricity because it's hotter. Come next month and the month after that, your kids are home. It's going to be even worse. That's why. I don't know why y'all keep asking the same question, because I'm pretty sure that all of you know the answer. Right? Cut back on your usage. Sit down in the heat for about 15 minutes and sweat it out. I mean, we could all probably lose a few pounds by taking that approach. It just is what it is. Open up a window if you think you can do without it. I just feel like we're running in circles and we keep repeating the same question every single year. And it can't be that y'all don't really know what's going on. All right. So, do what you can to mitigate it. I'm trying to find one of these because I know it's in here somewhere this time of year. Oh my gosh. Can I search memories? I'm looking for a memory because trust me, every turnaround, it's like, oh my God, it's summer again. It's like, yes, it is. I told y'all I had a real rude awakening during Hurricane Ivan when I had to have my own generator running and topping that up every single day. I was like, there's no way. I said, this is so bloody expensive. Not to mention the time and the noise and the, energy of it all. Let me see if I can find a complaint about CUC in my history. Post from, I can probably pick any year. See, 2011, was complaining about it then. Let me see how far back we go. 2018, I was talking about my solar bill. I had a bill of $88.05 thanks to solar back in that October 6th of 2018. What a blessing. I said my blood pressure no longer rises for at least one bill. So yeah, I mean, the complaints just year after year after year. We can go back for years and see all the bills. 2018. Okay, here's a post that I did on January 5th, 2018. I said December CUC bill is almost 50% less. Can we please keep this cold front? It's the heat, folks. The heat outside makes a difference. I'm going to like my own comment now, all these years later. So this is what happens, you know. February 7th, 2014. Posting about CUC. It's every single year. It's the same reason. Nothing changes, Miss Sue. It's the heat. It's called summer is here. All right. We got guests who are waiting to come in. We're also waiting on the minister, I believe. So Aliano says 1 Bermuda dollar is 0.83 cents Cayman. Poor KK says Kismatit. Irvin says government needs to step in. They allow it. Step in and do what exactly? What would you have them do? So Lenny says, I think what people are seeing is the dollar amount. Never in my 15 years living on island has my bill been $720 plus. But Lenny, let me ask you a question. How much of that is your fuel factor? Because I'm pretty sure that never in your 15 years has the cost of fuel actually been where it is now either. I'm willing to bet you $1 that that's the case. Gary says renewable energy is the answer. All right. Stefan says laughing out loud 2011. Would love to hear that amount. But my point is we were still complaining about it no matter what the amount was. In 2011, I was complaining about my CUC bill. And every single year, people complain about it, regardless of the amount, only because they see an increase. And that's understandable. But again, you also have to comprehend and understand that the cost of things like fuel, you know, especially during a time like this, has gone up exponentially, just like those mortgage interest rates. Some of it is being fueled by that war in Ukraine. I wish the Russians would hurry up and lose that war and stop destroying that poor country. But we're all going to pay the price for that. Okay. Good morning, Alejandro. So, Ms. Sue, look at the cost of your fuel, and I'm willing to bet you that you can figure out that that's exactly what's going on. Let's go ahead and bring our guests into the studio. Good morning. Oh, I see the minister. You guys are together. Beautiful.
Morning, Sandra. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. So good morning to Minister Jay Ebanks. And we've also got Mr. Julio Ramos from the National Housing Development Trust joining us this morning. We're going to talk a little bit about affordable housing. So thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the program.
Thank you for having us, Sandra. Good morning to the listeners, and good morning to Grand Cayman and Little Cayman, Cayman Brac. We're happy to be here with you this morning to discuss the National Housing Development Trust and let the people know what we're doing and when it comes to housing.
Yes, this is wonderful. I really appreciate it. So I want to talk a little bit, Minister Jay, you'll know that for a minute now, I'm always getting these questions about affordable housing, about what's being done and how it works. Lots of questions. And so we want to try to break it down. I think maybe we'll start with Mr. Ramos to explain to us what options are currently available for those looking for affordable housing and then what's coming in the very near future.
Okay. Good morning, Cayman.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us on your show. And yeah, sure. National Housing, we're an entity of the Cayman Islands government where we provide affordable housing opportunities for Caymanians. Now, we are currently attending under the Affordable Housing Initiative program and allocating a house to prospective Caymanians for the batch of houses that we have in our sites. Mm-hmm. That's on that end. We are also doing the bill on your own property as well, where individuals can actually get the benefit of any one of our house designs, where we would basically come in and assess them and build it as well and have a turnkey event with the participating banks. We have the Government Guarantee Administration Program, which is somewhat halted. We continue to administer that, but we're pressing on the government as well to bring it on board because it was a very successful program, and that allowed for individuals home ownership sporadically across the market where government would guarantee that position. That portion of the program or this program is actually being worked on by our government, and we're waiting for the directives on that. So in a nutshell, we're working mainly now on the affordable housing with the projects of building within our sites.
Mm-hmm. Very, very good. So how's the project coming along in terms of the construction? Like, what are we looking at? I think you recently broke ground on one development. So how far along are they, and what's the projected sort of completion time for these houses to be done?
Sandra, I'm happy to say that the site in West Bay that we broke ground on at the lighthouse, the houses are actually moving very swiftly, and majority of them are up to their beltings right now, and it's actually, the work is moving very quickly and a lot faster than I thought it was actually going to be moved. I must applaud the initiative team and the contractors that are working on those homes right now. But that'll be a set of people that will actually get some keys just before the Christmas, and we're happy to give them over to have families to be able to own their own homes for the Christmas season coming up. And our next project that we're looking at right now that we have that is actually going into planning for approval is to look at the Apple Blossom site in West Bay that we're getting ready to redo over. That site will be actually a lot quicker to move because a lot of the infrastructure has already been done. We've actually just refitted the design work to work with what we have as infrastructure already. So as soon as we get an approval from the planning department and the CPA on that one, we figure that we can actually start to roll out just over 50 odd homes on that particular site, building and going. As everyone knows in construction, the longest time frame is getting the approvals from CPA planning, and then also doing the infrastructure, so putting in all the utilities, the water, and the road works and all of that. We have crossed that stage with the lighthouse. We are way ahead of that stage when it comes to the Apple Blossom. We have just crossed that hurdle with the north side site, right? Getting that all pretty much done. You know, the north side site is just ready to pave now. And again, that is a site that we're getting ready to kick up homes, I would say, by the end of this month, Ramos, you would say? We should be able to start building the homes out there. And hopefully, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that some people in the north side will be able to get houses for the Christmas season also. You know, but then we're also working on our affordable site in the East End. I really hate the word affordable. I want to get away from that stigma of affordable homes. But we're working on the infrastructure to replace it, to be able to build our homes, more affordable homes in East End there. And, you know, I've tasked the NHDT to also look for more property in the range of Boddentown, Savannah area location. We know that is one of the fastest growing areas. We've had enough people actually approaching the NHDT looking homes for the Boddentown area and asking if we have any homes that we're going to be building in that particular area. There are some private developers that I've been talking to that is willing to help us work out how do we hit these numbers that we have to get into the affordable market to be able to, so that Caymanians can actually be able to own a home. So there is a lot of discussions going on in the background how we can actually get the private sector on board to help NHDT push the housing market that we need. You know, because what we found is everyone has been building the high-end homes, and we kind of left the lower end and the middle class behind. So we've asked a few of the developers of how can we actually get in there, can we build these homes, and how can we get them at the right price point to actually keeping them at almost the price point that NHD has. So we're looking to really roll out and hit as many homes that we can coming forward.
Can I just pause you there for one quick second, Minister? I don't know if your technical team in the background can move your camera any closer. People are just asking if we can do that. We could probably hear you a little bit better. I'm assuming the mic is actually on the camera. So I'm going to pull you out for just a quick second. to allow you to, I see Mr. Ramos looks like he might have been running to go do it. So maybe just take a minute to do that, because we want to ensure that everyone, this is a fantastic program this morning with a lot of information about where the National Housing Development Trust is in terms of their projects, how things are rolling out in the different districts, what availability is. And so, yes, it would be useful to make sure that everybody can hear as clearly as possible. So we'll try. I see they've physically moved closer, so that's great. Let's go ahead and try that now and see how that is. Audio is always tricky sometimes. But yeah, we'd like to have you closer so we can really see you as well.
All right. How's this? Is it any better?
Yes, I think that's better.
Okay.
Yes, wonderful. All right, so you've got a number of project sites that you've broken ground on. Some construction sites have begun already. And then you've got plans to try to acquire more land. Now, let's talk about the general benefit of the National Housing Trust and what it is that you guys offer. So I think, Mr. Ramos, over the years, there have been changes on how the National Trust makes these options available to qualified individuals. So in a second here, we're talking about who can be qualified. So as Mr. Clifton said, what's the criteria? But let's talk about some of the benefits, because I understand that essentially, once someone qualifies and they get into a National Housing Trust home, they are getting a home that already has a considerable amount of equity in it, because essentially they're not even paying for the property. Like, they couldn't go out there, acquire that property and build that home on their own for the price point at which they're getting it from National Housing.
Absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Sandra. These houses are building for the 185, and I think the sale price. Yeah. But their equity are coming back into them. I mean, the price point is valuations like almost like 400,000 for some of these.
You can imagine.
So they're getting great equity in them.
Yes.
If I may just add, Ms. Sandra, actually, you hit the nail in the head in terms of making it practical and make it affordable for individual that has the equity. But part of the formula to this effect is well that we're constructing these at cost. And this is attributed to having that partnership with the small contractors. So where the average contractors out there are making over $200 or $300 on a square foot, we have a partnership with contractors who are willing to build it at a lower rate, but we deliver the same quality homes. Now, this is just not our word, but the valuations that are undertaken by independent evaluators outline these. So we take the other steps as well in terms of numbers count. So whenever we're building these at cost, we're selling them at cost, but the equity is what helps individuals to qualify. The portion of the land not being sold because government has vested it to them as well, and also the portion of keeping that cost down to make it affordable is what has helped. What we consider the magic number that has helped a lot of individuals here, and the willingness from the community as well to build in these houses at those rates.
Yes, absolutely. So I know that there's been a little bit of confusion. I think maybe this is a wonderful opportunity, Mr. Ramos, to clarify this point. For the benefit of, I always have people in different areas like Windsor Park, for example, calling and, this is how it used to be and this is how it is. So I know over the years, there have been some changes to how the role, I should say, that the National Housing Trust plays. So at some point, was it the case that the National Housing Trust, you got your loan and it appeared as though you were getting your loan from the National Housing Development Trust?
Okay. What happened, we're going to speak specific to the Windsor Park, and also let's speak on as well as is in relation to the first set of homes that were built in 2004. Yes.
So this is just to be clear, this would have been the homes that fell under former Minister Frank Macfield. And as we know, those homes unfortunately didn't hold up very well. So there's a whole history to that. So let's just do a brief synopsis. I think it's important. People still don't understand fully what's transpired. And some of the people who were impacted by it, they themselves don't appear to have an understanding of what happened either.
Okay. Yeah. So, yes, it's dating back to 2004 with the first set of homes to be built. Individuals got entered into what you consider a lease to own arrangement with the National Housing Development Trust, whereas opposed to instead of going to the bank, they were repaying back the trust at an agreed interest and terms therein. As we fast forward, obviously those houses were not necessarily conducive to the environment of what we were faced with, And of course, these houses were also affected by Hurricane Ivan at that given point in time.
Right.
When we fast forward now, a few years later, these individuals, especially the stand individuals, they got transitioned to a brand new house under the same terms they're in.
Mm-hmm.
So you would appreciate that whilst those houses were going for 69,000 for the 3-bedroom and 57,000 for the 2 bedrooms. Whenever they transition of the balance owed to them, but at a brand new house.
Mm-hmm.
So they were not charged more.
Let me just understand this, right? So if I were in a house and I only owed government $50,000 left on that house, the initial homes, right? I got transitioned into a brand new house that was better construction, better built, and I still only owed the balance of $50,000, regardless of what that house was valued.
That is correct.
That is correct. Yeah.
That is correct. Individuals, that position was taken that they would need to be placed in a correct position or even better. So thereby, making it's not their fault because of the metal houses, but as such, we needed to place them in a more favorable, equitable position that they can now enjoy their homes. Mm-hmm. This board as well, in terms of this government, they're taking further steps as well to sympathize with these individuals and adjusting their interest rates as well. Mm-hmm. While they were held to a higher interest rate than they're in, the position was taken to actually retrofix them that whenever they transitioned in 2012, to put them as if they were at the bank, because it's not their fault that they were transitioned and they were unable to go to the bank. Mm-hmm. So with that change, individuals are now at a faster pace of owning their homes. Mm-hmm. It's only 17 in relation to, it's only about 10 of them in Windsor Park and another 9 of them in West Bay. Mm-hmm. So they're now at the position that they're owning their house. The retro adjustment of interest as well in those positions has been made. Mm-hmm. So they have been placed in a equitable position in the individuals that we reached out to, because we're reaching out to every one of them communicating. They're very appreciative of such positions.
Yes. And they were always, to be clear, Mr. Ramos, they were always paying interest, because some of them seem to think that they weren't actually paying interest. And I said to them, that doesn't even make any sense, because no bank is going to give you an interest-free loan. Right? If that exists, then sign me up, because I'm first in line. But on the back end of it, you guys were actually doing the paperwork of arranging the financing essentially for these individuals, right?
That is correct. So when we transitioned them, we revisited the whole agreement. We consulted with legal, both Crown and privately in counsel. And whenever we transitioned them to the brand new house, they were given opportunity to have a sit-down discussion as well, and even given free counsel, legal mm-hmm. counsel of their choice, to further understand the agreement that they were going into, and they also sign on it. Now, I understand that individuals are, would need further clarity in it, but our doors are always been open to explain it to them on a step-by-step. So,
yeah. I mean, all banks do that. When you're signing a mortgage, they say to you, they avail yourself of legal advice. Make sure that you understand what it is that you're getting into, what contract you're signing.
No,
so
yeah.
You guys actually paid for that to make sure that happened.
Yes.
Yeah. And so now the position is the National Housing Trust doesn't get involved in doing the financing or making those arrangements for people. They say to people, you meet the criteria, which we'll talk about here in a second. Now, here are the banks that we're working with. You go to them, you apply to them, and you communicate directly with them, which I think makes more sense, because it removes the National Housing Trust from being the middleman, which a lot of people didn't even appreciate, that you guys were actually the middleman and you were not the ones actually financing their homes.
Correct, yes.
Yeah. All right, so very good.
What the rate was at the time.
Yes, Minister wishes to outline that at that given time it was 8.5% in 2004. And over the years, that interest rate varied, going down as low as 3% and 4%. Right. And so it's a matter of placing them, even though they did not go to the bank, as if they were in a banking arrangement with us. And also, so if they enter into a mortgage arrangement for 20 years and it's now fast forward 20 years, they would be owning their homes now. So they've been restated.
Yes. Okay. All right. So what's the criteria to qualify for one of these homes?
Okay. Sure. The criteria obviously be Caymanian.
Yes.
Be first time. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Be first time property owner.
Okay.
Obviously, live in Grand Cayman because that's where we're actually offering these.
Mm-hmm.
Live in the property as well and get that benefit.
Yeah.
And there's an income criteria of not earning, if you're applying individually, more than 4,500. If you're applying jointly as a couple, not earning no more than 6,000. One of the reasons is the fact that these criteria need to be in place because these are what we consider opportunities for low-income individuals. If you are earning beyond that, you stand a better chance in the open market and going to the bank as well. Another criteria is obviously is that of the bank be within the age criteria as well to service a mortgage and also qualifying as the bank. And of course, their criteria is being employed for more than 6 months. So the criteria are straightforward in relation to that, and it's basically designed for the affordable individual, making it affordable for the low-income individuals.
Right.
Over the years, the criteria we've had to increase it because we know cost has gone up, and even though salaries have gone up as well, individuals are still being marginalized because of that level of income.
I mean, I know people who have qualified, and then there's an educational process that I think when it comes to banks and mortgages that people really need to undertake, because some people, for example, don't realize that they still have to, although it's 100% financing, right? They still have to come up with like closing fees and stuff like that. So there's some associated cost. It's not somebody's not going to just hand you a key to your new house and you pay nothing to get through the door.
Yeah. So what we do, Sandra, that we pre-assess them. We give them the walkthrough based on information provided to us. Now, we're not banks. We cannot verify certain things as well, but we are also dependent on them being honest with us and forthcoming. Because whenever they do go to the bank, they're going to be assessed properly as to saying, what is your income? What are your loans? Please disclose all information. So we give them that pre-assessment first, and we undertake that exercise. But we also encourage them that if you have any doubt in relation to you qualifying for these set amounts, you can always go to the bank and get pre-assessed. And what would help us in expedite our application as well, if you can provide us a proof of a pre-assessment from your bank, that also helps as well. We also tell individuals that whenever they're in the process of waiting for an opportunity for a house, and if they're trying to get mortgage financing, do not get indebted with consumer loans such as credit cards, new cards, and other loans as well, because that affects the debt service ratio. So, and just to correct you, whilst you made mention of 100% financing, that's not across with all banks. Some banks accommodating, some don't, and some have 80 or 95% financing. So that is also an aspect of the calculation that we do and outline to them, listen, if you're going to go for this, you're going to have some injection for the shortfall of what the bank is not going to finance. So you're going to need to have it in place before then, such as a pension drawdown or some savings.
Yes. Okay. Very good. So we've got a few questions that are coming in. So Aliano's asking, what about affordable land? So you do have an option. I mean, obviously you can't have house without land. And the idea isn't just to give somebody a piece of land. The idea is home ownership through the National Housing Development Trust. So you're not just saying, oh, we'll give you a piece of land and then there's no plan on how you're ever going to build on that, right? The ultimate goal is for you to have a complete structure for you and your family to be able to move into. Is that correct?
That is correct. This is something that we would have to look into as well. And I've seen so often whenever they visit our office, individuals who bought their land, the individuals that are being moved to own that piece of property. But what the banks are not telling them that whenever they're buying these properties for over 50, 60, or 100,000, is that they're not going to be able to afford to build on it for the reason that their debt service ratio is already maxed. So they're already, what should I say? They're already locked into a loan facility and not being able to qualify. So for the gentleman that's asked the question in terms of affordable land, that's something that we can look into that. If you're not mortgage ready, but you're taking those baby steps, then obviously we can enter into. I'm just speaking here, and I'm probably the minister's going to task us with it to consider that your first time property. That if you want to basically commit and buy it and eventually do your bill on your own property on that land, is something that can be considered as well.
But Sandy, just to go back on that, on what you were just talking about with affordable land, there's a pilot project right now that the Lands and Survey team is doing in East End. Some of you all may be aware of that. And that was what that project was, is actually how do we, because we had a lot of people asking for affordable land that, wanted to build their home but didn't want to build maybe the spec home or wanted to build a different type of home from what the NHTT was building. So there's that project that is going on. We have a property that we've identified also in north side too, that we would be looking at doing a mixed use of that property at some time, where NHTT goes in and build one or two homes in there, but we also do go back and about selling the lots at an affordable price.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
And from what I remember off the hand with it, is these lots were not to say what the sales price would be, but government was just looking to whatever the raw cost of the property and the infrastructure costs of the property were, to sell the lots at that to break even for.
Mm-hmm. Aliano saying, Minister Jay, there are houses made by Boxable. What initiatives and building reform are being made to allow these folding homes to be purchased and used on islands? So this is probably more of a planning question. These are the my husband was actually showing me these the other day, and they look interesting. But basically, it's a house that comes with all the walls and everything kind of attached, and you just assemble it. It's almost like you're playing, I don't know, build a house out of a box, and you assemble it sort of similar, not really similar to container houses, but I can see the concept of taking something that's supposedly relatively cheap to get started and then allowing that to build and construct a house. Do these things, I don't know if you know this from a planning perspective, but do these things actually meet the required criteria for planning, like hurricane ratings and that sort of thing? Has anyone looking into that?
Sandra, just to answer that question, I know I've seen a concept of a similar one, almost like a container where it's all folded all up, and it's like Lego, just build it all, put it all back together. It is something that the Mr. Haron has been looking at, and to see if these are going to meet up to the Miami-Dade codes, and are they going to be able to meet our Cat 5 codes to make sure that everything can go forward. But it's something that we are looking after, and matter of fact, I think we have a trip planned somewhere down in the middle of the year here to go and look at a facility that actually manufactures these particular type of homes, to see if it's something that we could actually bring here to be interested in here, if it'll meet every single code that we have to meet to.
Right. Okay. All right. Cayman Action Kind Committee says, what happened to the original proposal, affordable homes for low-income families who the banks refused? Now the banks are welcoming with open arms. This isn't how this project was designed. So I'm not sure. I'm not understanding the question, but perhaps you are. So there was some original proposal and the banks refused it? I don't really know. People who the banks refused? So there's always been criteria in place that you had to meet to qualify. And I suppose the criteria is lowered for, is this maybe where government was guaranteeing? Is this what's the other program?
Yeah.
Yes. I wonder if maybe that's what that is. I don't know.
Yeah, well, the GGHAM was, that's the program that I outlined to you, that of buying properties sporadically across the market, and government guaranteed 35%. And that's
where the homeowner goes out there and finds a property on their own.
That is correct. So you would have found a property, and it was a collaboration between the government and the participating banks that agreed with that of a guarantee position of 35% to provide housing opportunity for these individuals. That has expired and has since expired. We continue to administer the last set. 325 individuals got that benefit. And now this government is looking, of course, on reinitiating it and renegotiate with the banks as well to bring that on board.
I must say, Sandra, that GGHAM program is the finance minister to actually carry that forward to negotiate that. So it is in the hands of the premier right now, and him and the FS teams for them to go to have that negotiations with the banks. But I do know it's something that we're looking into, and the government has been asking, members have been asking to get it going, because as we said, 325 people benefited from it before. We think it's a great program, because we've seen people already been asking. I mean, I've been getting several calls about it. Is this going to continue? So I've asked the finance minister, the honorable premier, to look at this and see how we can get this going as quickly as possible.
Okay. Someone is saying roughly how much are the homes going for? So what are the options again for the available homes?
Okay, the homes that we're building on our side, if you even have your own property, these new home designs, they're modern now. The 3-bedroom is going for 185, and the 2-bedroom models are going for 170. We still have the old designs as well that we just completed from 2022 now, and those can also be adopted as well if you want to build on your property. And if it needs be, we would have to actually build in some sporadically in our properties, but those are for less. But 142 for the 3-bedroom and 127 around there in for the 2-bedroom.
$127,000 for a 2-bedroom.
For the 2-bedroom, we're still trying to work these numbers here. And we know cost has gone up. We've worked it. We have contractors that are willing to come on board, but it's in and around that range.
Okay. So Damien says, are there covenants and background checks to who can buy or move into these to keep that equity value high? Someone else asked a similar question. They say one of the conditions of purchase of these homes should be that they cannot be sold except to Cayman and never to be used in any way that might cause a foreclosure. And I'm not sure when they say used in a way that might cause a foreclosure, because normally foreclosures, you just don't pay your bills. So I don't know what else would cause a foreclosure, but do you screen applicants in any other way? So for example, I'm hearing, this person got a house in West Bay and they keep it like it looks horrible. They're not maintaining the value in the home. They're making the kids run around like animals and put holes in the wall and tear the place down. That impacts the property value of other home owners in the area. They're selling drugs out of their government home. Are there any other criteria that you try to look for? Is there any vetting process beyond just the finances and the numbers?
Well, the vetting process, we need to be careful because, it's not like the banks go back and they will probably Google you, see if you're a criminal or not.
Yeah.
But, we owe a benefit to our people, and we cannot necessarily be judgmental to that effect. But we also do the background checks as to where they're coming from, their living conditions they were staying. So we get that confirmation from landlords as well. The other restriction or the control that we put in place whenever these houses are sold is that of the restrictive covenants that runs with the property. And that's basically how the property is to be kept and the living standards they're in. We also have an attached provision on that's also in the event that there's a default or a resale or restriction of sale, we have the first option of refusal to flip that house and give it to another Caymanian.
Very good. So there are covenants in place. And someone was asking about subletting and leasing. It's not supposed to be a rental property. So that's already in place, I understand, as part of the covenants that exists.
It is that of the covenants. But, with the covenants, at some point in time, we have to play out these scenarios and be realistic, Ms. Sandra. In these given times, if an individual has lost their job, but they still need to maintain their mortgage, it's really hard to come and tell them, listen, you can't put someone else's sublease in your end so you can maintain your house. That is a difficult task. I don't know of any bank that would restrict you from doing that, apart from, it needs to be in compliance of, not a rental property. But it is outlined in our criteria that the condition is that you live in the property, you get that benefit.
Right.
So for me to tell you it doesn't happen and that we are policing that position is difficult. Well, knowing that these are some of the circumstances for individuals and everybody's trying to make ends meet as well. Cost of living has gone up, income doesn't have to go up. You are aware now of high interest rates as well, where when the individual is paying a good $800-900, not even that much for the affordable houses, they're not going to the equivalent of $1,500, and that was on those affordable houses. So imagine the average mortgage up there. Most individuals are paying between $3,500 or $4,000 now for mortgages.
Yes.
So play the scenario that if anything happens that disturbs that income position, your income, what would you do?
Yeah.
Not to say that I'm encouraging it per se. Everyone, a home is something that is a prize benefit that you have, and you're going to do as much as you can to keep it.
Yeah.
And I'm quite sure I'm not going to see any one individual is going to rent just to go rent somewhere else.
Exactly.
You know what the rental rate is out there as well.
Yeah. All right, Ms. Vernita is saying, what about, is there anything in the works for indigent, sick, and disabled persons? So I'm assuming Ms. Vernita is talking about people who can't pay anything at all. Does government have any option available for those individuals? Are you considering them?
That's more of a question for NAU, but I mean, to be honest with you, I know the minister of NAU has asked that we look together how we can actually work and collaborate together and actually building a more of a like a multi-story block that could help out for individuals like this in the future. So we are having talks with both between myself and Minister Andre on how we can work out something in that direction.
All right, Miss Darlene wants to know, is that local Caymanian or paper Caymanian?
The Constitution says Caymanian is Caymanian. Okay.
I would prefer local Caymanians, but anyhow, we have to go by what it says.
Yes. So, Miss Darlene, in law, there's no difference. Let me address this a little bit, Miss Darlene, because this is an interesting situation, and I get it. I get, as a Caymanian, we start talking about multi-generational Caymanian, and it's a bit of a pissing competition. Well, my grandparents go back this further than yours. I'm 10 generations. You're only 2 or 3 generations. It's like, at what point are you Caymanian enough? Really is the question. And there's also a question of, somebody said this to me the other day, even in terms of like naturalization, right? So someone saw people being naturalized at the government building. They messaged me, oh, you need to get over there right now. Look, all these people being naturalized. It's like 300-400 people, and we're just giving away our country. And I messaged a deputy governor, and he said, these people are ridiculous. He said it's about 60, maybe 70 people. And he said the vast majority of those individuals have been in Cayman 15 plus years, and they're actually married to Caymanians. So he said, what do you want us to do? Right. And I had to think about this, because as a Caymanian who's more married to, well, now he has status, like he's Caymanian now too. But as someone who's married to a non-Caymanian, what do y'all expect me to do? To tell Marlon Hill, you must come to this country, build your life, have a child, work in this country, be a good citizen, but you're not going to be entitled to, ever getting naturalized, because people are going to be at the government building taking your photo and sending it to CMR saying, look, I think we need to be cautious of how a lot of Caymanians are married to foreign nationals, and we want them to embrace this country, but at the same time, we also have to be willing to embrace them, right? So, I kind of feel a little way about that sometimes, as someone who does come from, a long Caymanian stock, but on one side of the family, my grandfather was a Jamaican. But yet he came to this country and did a lot of things in this country. The first school bus system, one of the first bars, Buttonwood Club. I mean, he did a lot to build his family, but also contribute in a meaningful way to this community. Anyway, honey child. Binks is asking about the West Bay homes. I think this might have been answered already, about when they're going to be breaking ground, because it was taking years. What is normally the holdup at these construction sites? So you guys acquire the land, you acquire quite a bit of property. And then why does it take so long to kind of get started?
Well, Sandy, once we purchase the property, then we go out, we have to get a survey drawing done of the property. Then we take that survey drawing, once the board approves that, then it goes to cabinet for them, for their overview of it, just to look at it, just agree on it, because we really just agreeing on whatever the board decides. Mm-hmm. Then that is actually taken to 60 days in notifications, and then that goes to planning on CPA for CPA decision. And then once it goes from the CPA, then it goes to plan, then we get approval for that subdivision. Then we go back down to the board, to the drawing board back of the property, of getting the boundary markers identified out there. And then after that, we actually bring in the heavy equipment into clearing the roadways, then also filling the roadways, and then going back and cutting the roadways to putting the water lines in there. And then we also have to go back in, and then we have to get lined up with CUC also to bring power in there. And then getting the roadway paved so that we can get in there, and getting the properties cleared, and getting the properties prepped and filled to be able to build. So there's other entities that we have to work with. And so that time frame from the day you buy the property to ready to build could easily be anywhere 6 to 8 months in there. and it depends on how quickly we can work with the other entities too, and what their schedules are looking like, and be able to get them in on their calendar to get things done. So it's a long process to get before we can just start to build.
Yeah. So we have Miss, I think this question was answered already, but Miss Marjorie asking, can seniors apply? So the problem with seniors is, as you know, the bank will stop because they've got to look at how you're going to pay. So if you're a senior and you're on a fixed income, the bank might have concerns about your ability to maintain a 20-year mortgage. So if you're 65, you might not live to be 85. Let's just be realistic here. So the bank has to look at you as an extraordinary risk. And I think that they don't loan money normally on mortgages anyway for anyone past the retirement age.
So one thing we wanted to look at too is we understand that sometimes, people fumble in life, and, some people may have lost their job, they lost their home. Some people got divorced, then, one party got the house, next party has to start over. So this is something I wanted to look at too, is not just, if someone lost their home because they fumbled and they lost their job, should they be penalized that they can't get back into this program? If you went through a divorce and you need to start your life back over, should they be penalized and not be able to take advantage of this program if they're Caymanian? This is something I wanted to look into to change to see how we can actually make this go forward. We've had seniors that are coming here that come up and say, hey, you know what, I got 3/4 of the cash that I think that I've saved, I can put down and get 5 years worth of mortgage from the bank then and pay the rest off. There are ways for us to work with seniors out there.
We have entertained one off. As a matter of fact, one of the house sales in East End was a senior individual. It was either he one be held ransom at the market price, or two be given an opportunity in terms of meeting that dream at that elderly age, and he paid it off.
Yeah.
So it worked out. Some individuals have savings, some are disciplined.
Right.
But like what Minister said, it's really difficult to get one foot into the bank to get that finance, and well knowing that most mortgages are capped or up to 65 years old, up to the age of 65.
I mean, I suppose banks can make exceptions. So if they see, as you said, that maybe you already have substantial savings that you can make a contribution towards it to bring down the mortgage amount, and you're actually not borrowing that much from the bank, that it is entirely possible. But you can't be a senior that has nothing and expect that you're going to get a mortgage and not have a way to pay it back to the bank, because ultimately this is a business transaction at the end of the day. Yeah. Quick question for you in relation to, we've got lots of questions coming in, trying to get through all of them. But has government given any consideration to not just building single family dwellings, but maybe condos or apartment units where you could get more of those in a, on a parcel of land? Any consideration to that for affordable housing?
Yes, Sandra, we are looking at that right now for our Georgetown site, which is the site next to the old Cox Lumber out there. An RFP should be going out very shortly for that particular site, and that's what we're looking to do, a multi-story on there. What we're actually going to be putting out in that RFP is to cater to any developer that can design, build, and do the whole cost for us. And we'll see who is the best winner of that. But that is something that we wanted to change, and it's something that we wanted to look into and start to maybe look at smaller lot sizes in throughout the whole island, where we could actually do more of a townhouse style or more a condo block to be able to do affordable house. So we're not just building homes only.
Okay, very good. All right, Natasha says, please pass on to Minister Jay that we very much appreciate him coming on the show to speak to his constituents. Great being able to engage with our MPs. Can you ask them what about them buying, bulk buying materials from overseas for the local contractors to use to try and reduce the price even more and maintain consistent quality of materials? So do you guys get into the building of it? I mean, it seems like you might be spreading yourself into areas that really isn't your area of expertise.
Sandra, I must applaud the board. That is the approach the board has been taking. And they
Okay.
have actually been procuring things in bulk so that we could actually maintain these prices. Because I mean, we're in a market right now where everything has gone up. We've changed the design of these homes, but able to keep the price down. So you're getting a more modern look at home. You're getting a lot of equity into them because we can still keep building these at affordable prices. When we tell contractors and the developers that what price we're building at, they're scratching their heads at the same time. How is housing really doing that? In number one, that is actually procuring things in bulk prices and also keeping a fine tooth on top of every single thing to make sure everything is being run properly. It's all structured out the right way, moving forward, and trying to eliminate as much of the hiccups that we can going forward for the contractors.
Right. Okay. Very good. Thanks, Natasha, for the question. We've got this individual asking this morning. Good morning to Ms. Marva, saying, I pray that they do not allow them to have goats, chickens, and working on old cars. So again, this is about trying to maintain the standards of the neighborhood. After a project is completed, is there anyone, Mr. Ramos, that is responsible for doing like site checks to make sure that people are being compliant and keeping up the property as they agreed to do?
Yes, we do the routine check in relation to the sites. We send constant reminders. As it relates to goat and chicken, yes, we had those concerns as well. But especially if they're roaming free, there's no ownership. We can't hold individual accountable to that. But as it relates to how repairs in cars and not being kept up to standard, we send out a reminder, and also that will restrict the covenants. We've gone as far as actually marking them as well for removal. In some cases, we also encourage and give them assistance as well with the bulk waste. And we try to be accommodating and say, we know you're doing this, we know we have this, but here is this big container that we're doing so you can dispose of your property, of your materials as well.
Yeah.
So, but housing, when we sell our houses, it's somewhat difficult to police a site. Yes. Well known that it's your house, but we have to constantly remind them of the covenants.
Right. All right, Cayman Brock says, what about if a parent wants to buy one of these homes for their children and they're not first-time home buyers, just feel that the first-time buyer stipulation should not be set in stone?
Yes, that's a very good question. And not everything is set in stone, but whenever we have the likes of over 700 individuals or people that are waiting on a benefit, to give that benefit to buy for a parent to buy something for their child, and then we're depriving another family. So I'm sorry, in all respect to the individual that's raising the question for buying a home for their child, we need to cater to the individuals that are in need, richer families, a household. It could be a couple with 2 or 3 children. So in essence, so that whenever they're making it's affordable for them, they have the disposable income to survive as well. What I would encourage individuals to do, if you're looking for to assist in your children, well, you can start helping them to invest as well in terms of lands as well if they're not mortgage ready. But our program cannot take from one individual of a family to give to a young person. Yes, the opportunities perhaps selling that portion of land can be done, but we're too small. We do not have the land capacity. Maybe it would work in the BRAC. It would be an ideal program per se, because they do have that space up there. But in Grand Cayman, it's hard to actually formulate that position, well knowing that we have over 700 individuals to cater to.
Well, Sandra, it also goes back. I mean, when they're saying for their children, right? What age they're talking about for their kids, right? Because I mean, if you're talking about a child or a kid or your children that are coming back from school and are hitting the ground, and I mean, that can qualify with the bank right away, and then you're just helping them, assisting them. Then there's really nothing stopping that part of helping. But if you're saying that your kid is like 12 years old, you want to buy it now, lock it in because you see it at a good price, then it's not really fair for you to lock that house at that age for that guy when we have so many families in the waiting pool
right now. Yeah, that's true. All right, we've got a caller in the line. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandra. How are you?
Morning. Good, thanks. How you doing?
Good. Morning and stuff.
Good morning. Good morning.
I have a question for Mr. Julio Ramos. Why you have some homes in East End that looks like a garbage dump, and it's only one house out of the 20 yard that is inside there in East End, right? What is being done about that? Because there's oil and a lot of debris around that house. I have talked to Mr. Julio, and they put a dumpster out there. One bumper went in and one fender. Nothing has been done. I've called DEH and nothing has been done. The hurricane season, Grace, I called Mr. Julio before that. You look in the backyard. Like Sandra, I could send you a picture if you want. Mount Trashmore is right there alongside here.
Well, you know what, caller? Send it to me because the proper entity for this is the Department of Environmental Health. And I can tell you that Mr. Richard Sims is very good about sending them notice to clean up. So send it to me and let me see what we can do. Send it to me.
I called him too.
You send that to me today. Let's get on it.
All right.
Yeah.
The minister, keep up the good work.
Thanks for it. All right. So yeah, I mean, listen, this thing about these derelict properties and homes, and sometimes they're not even derelict. It's just people not wanting to keep up their homes, driving down the value in everybody else's property, making the neighborhood look horrible, rat infestation, chicken infestations, all sorts of stuff. You know, we have one in our neighborhood as well that people for 10 years, the property hasn't been touched or been cleared. And when you reach out to the property owners, they always have some excuse about, oh, we've had a hard time. And I'm like, listen, we all fall in hard times. We're sympathetic, but you've had a hard time for the past 20 years and you've not been able to finish this house and everybody else must suffer because of it. Come on now. I mean, if you have a piece of property that you don't have the money to build on, that's fine. At least maintain the property. Keep the bush cut down and keep it looking halfway decent. Yeah, too many people are just no standards. I tell you what.
Well, just to let that caller know, we'll definitely will go have someone from the TCHT just take a drive through there and see what's going on there.
Yes. The caller in question, I am aware of that property. It's a lot to it in that, apart from just in terms of upkeep of the property, there's other issues as well in terms of dispute between neighbors as well. Like I said, we are housing. We provide housing opportunity for individuals. The owners individuals to take care of the property, but it's also the owners individuals to get along as well. We can only do as much as point and remind individuals. I cannot be a police officer. I cannot be an enforcer of the environment as well, but can only remind individuals. We have worked with the individual that has the derelict cars. There is some other issues in relation to that, and he has been very participating in relation to efforts that we do to him to address the issues. So we can only continue to remind them. We wish, we built over 127. We had so much success in other houses, and this is just one of the one-off cases. But we liaise with DEH, we liaise with every department, animal control as well. In terms of that's another issue that we have there as well. Animal, not just specific to that house, but the neighboring property as well. It's a lot of issues, but we can only remind them and we can only encourage individuals to get along as well.
What a mess, my dear. All right, we have KY345 says, is there a period of time after someone has been a first-time homeowner that they can again qualify as a first-time homeowner? Say, for example, 5 years. This is like the question, can you be a virgin more than once, I think. I'm not sure, KY345. Have you ever owned a home? Yes or no? The government stamp duty, I was thinking about this the other day as well. Can you qualify more than once? Like 10 years later, can you say, yeah, I want this to be my first home again? The answer is probably no.
Well, the government has been looking at more than one. So if you have, I think the previous finance minister was doing up to 3. So
yeah, I mean, that's possible. Yes. Yeah. Was that ever done though? I mean, I know he talked about it, but I don't think it was ever put in place.
Yeah, it is. It is something that the previous finance minister was looking at. And he was actually doing it, that I know about.
So people were getting I don't know about that because I don't see that in any documentation anywhere.
It was. It is happening, and we've also looked at it.
I know it was definitely promised, as you said.
That promise, yeah. And then it was also keen that the member from Mr. David was the one that actually brought that forward for that motion to us to look at stamp. I think it was 5. I think he was looking at a time, and then under 500,000 or something it was. I don't recall right off the top of my head.
Okay, we're going to definitely look into that. Thank you so much, Minister. Ms. Darlene says, what consultation do you have for young local Caymanian single mothers, and not consultation that's supposed to be helping and at the same time beating them down? All of the red tape in the world discouraging and blocking so that it's impossible for them to own a decent, strong, high off of the ground, a low income budget home. So they would qualify just like anybody else, right?
Yes, Mr. Consultation. We have that benefit because the demand is so high. We are very accommodating in terms of prioritize some of these houses and how to say, let's mix it in terms of single parents, families, and individuals with, one or two kids. So we are very accommodating to that as well. And those are considerations that we put into the formula whenever we have to allocate, but we're only limited to a certain amount of houses. So that is already factoring into our criteria in terms of allocation of houses.
Right. KK says that people get refused because your ratio is high and when you cannot meet certain marks. Well, I mean, that's a qualifier on the banking side of things, right? So when we talk about debt ratio, and again, we keep begging the Bankers Association to start engaging with people so that you guys can understand. Because I think there's a general education process that has to happen with people and understanding mortgages, the obligation, and even how you get approved for mortgage and how all of this work. So your debt ratio, and of course the banks don't want you to be too close to your debt ratio because at the end of the day, they've got to consider things like, well, the interest rates keep going up. So in a year, you might be paying an extra $1,000 in a mortgage payment. And if your debt ratio is too tight, you're not going to be able to afford that. And your house is going to go into foreclosure. So that's why they look at things like your debt ratio. How much debt do you have? Things like credit cards, car loans, and other things. And what I find amazing, KK, we were talking about this last week when we were talking about interest rates and banks. I've known of people who've refused to give up a credit card, which is the worst kind of debt you can have. Highest interest rates, 20-something% interest, right? They would rather have that and be paying that as opposed to getting rid of it, paying it off so they can secure a mortgage. They'd rather carry that bad debt than to actually get a mortgage. And that demonstrates how our people are just not thinking right when it comes to finances. Alv Barnes says, good morning, Sandy. Sorry I'm joining late, but I really need to understand what we're doing to allow the next generation to be able to own anything here. Every place you look, there's a new development. First cost for a one bedroom is $300,000 plus. Everyone seems to be turning a blind eye to it. What is being done? So Alv, what I'm going to recommend you do since you came in late is after the show, hit the rewind button and you'll see your answers actually right there. That's why we have them on the program so that we can talk about what they're doing, what the ministry is doing, the National Housing Trust, what their remit is, and they're getting people into affordable homes for way less than that, and it's not a one bedroom. So that's the whole point of today's program. John LaRue says, can the minister please confirm where the new airport road will join Sparky Drive? This is a unrelated question, but do you know where the new airport road is going to join Sparky Drive? Maybe we need to have NRA back on the program again soon.
Yes, the ACR road is actually starting and coming out from the Back Air Marina and that on that side, and it's actually going around to Progressive, and from Progressive it goes through and cuts out next to where the new Shelley Hospital is building down at Cayman Bay. That road is projected to be ready for driven at end of September.
Mm-hmm. All right. Sherry Ann says that they need a property manager at these sites once people have moved in. Who's going to pay for the property manager?
Yeah, most often whenever you require a property manager is those, good question, who's going to pay? Whenever these properties are stratified.
They're not doing it for free.
More often you have, when they're stratified and there's some arrangements in place for that community. The only equivalent, what we encourage individuals to do when they decide is to create that of a community watch amongst themselves and delegate who would be the leaders therein. And they're the point of contact with us in relation to streamline and anything that we can assist with. after they purchase their property within that development.
All right, so KK says, please advise why I was told that the lower cost ones are not available. I had to go with the $170,000. Please advise how I can switch to one of the lower ones. I'm applying for the ones in North Side. So there's some for 170, and what was the other price point?
At 185, these are the new house models. Back again to what the minister was saying, one of the delays is whenever we're developing these properties is that of the approval and the planning process. In order for us to get up to that stage, we needed to provide a subdivision design and provide all house plans. And this specific site was given with the new house designs. The lower cost of what we made mention of is those of the old house designs as well, unless these are specifically factored into another property. That's when we would consider that position. But that design is already. The subdivision design of for the north side property we're working on are specific to these 2 and 3 bedroom models.
All right, Miss Charmaine says, just joined in and not sure if this was asked before, but what about multi-level assisted living for the elderly? So I know we talked about apartments. I don't know, is government looking at any assisted living facility? It's so ironic, Charmaine, that you should ask this question, because we have a Caymanian who has put forward a proposal to build an assisted living facility, and they are getting a lot of kickback, from the environmentalists, wannabe environmentalists in the community about, you can't get, because it's a massive project and it takes somebody who has a lot of money to try to even get this started, and they're getting a lot of kickback about, you can't get your fill from specific areas and so on and so forth. So government would be appreciative, correct me if I'm wrong, Minister, of a lot of private sector initiatives that can address some of these needs as well in a community.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. That's when we first started off the conversation. That's why we talked about there's some private discussions that are going on in the background of how they can work. And then again, this is something that we're talking about. The question was about the senior. It's a collaboration again between Minister Andre and myself to see how we can actually work together to build a facility to help with that. And there are talks between us, and again, we're in the budget season now, so it's a matter of fact of figuring out what that cost is going to be.
Okay. All right. We've got another question here from Alberto. Good morning. Says, good morning, Sandy. If a Caymanian has his own property and financing, is there an initiative where the government would provide the approved drawings and contractor resources to build at this fantastic price? That's an interesting question.
Yes, that is something that can be considered. Obviously, if the individual, they would have to fulfill the criteria under the bill on your property, similar to the HI.
Yeah. So there is an option to build on your own property already.
Yes. So there's a criteria on that as well. So say, for example, we would have to assess this individual. And if the individual already has capable financing for it, but what if the individual is a high income individual? Then obviously we cannot concentrate our resources to that effect on building it because he can do so on his own. That means we're taking from one individual to give to this one. However, if the individual qualifies under the criteria, then it's something that can be considered, to the point that, they can adopt our plans as well, and they can even adopt, or we can introduce them to our pre-approved contractors for those reserve prices. So something is all pending in the review.
And Sandy, one thing I wanted to just plug in there with that is that what I'm going to be moving forward is I'm asking a few of the architects that are willing to give up, help us push forward a few set of drawings that we can actually get that the people that wanting to help, they can come and just choose that drawing to try to eliminate that high cost of the architectural drawings, and say, hey, they could come to NHCT and they could say, okay, well, we've got 7 drawings that architects have provided for us. And if it's one that they would love to use, they could actually use that and go to planning and get permission to build on it, to build from that home spec that there. And what we would love to do is maybe try to get this a little bit further, that planning pre-approves all of these drawings already, so they don't have to go back into the system. They just go to the CPA and they're already ready to go. So it is a challenge I'm going to be putting out to the architects soon. that hopefully that they can design 2-3 bedrooms within between 900 to 1,200 square feet, and these people can actually come in and choose this particular drawing instead of having to get, because we understand too that an architectural drawing can cost for a small home close to $5,000. Right? So we're trying to eliminate and try to help people as best as we can going forward with that also.
All right, Jaron says, I have 8 kids, and to find something affordable is extremely hard. How about something with a fixed rate for Caymanian parents with more than 4 kids? Also, to get a property is nothing but a dream for us. Can I give Jaron some advice and a question? Why do you have 8 kids? I mean, I hate to be blunt and to the point, but in this day and age, you can barely afford 2. I mean, Jaron, you know what size house you need for 8 kids to be able to run around properly in? These government homes of 900 to 1,200 square feet, not accommodating no 8 children plus 1 or 2 adults in that household. I'm just saying. But are you guys encouraging people to have 8 children, and therefore, if you have 4 plus children, you're going to create a program just for those individuals?
It's nothing that's came across the board until now. It's very hard to come up with a design concept for that. I mean, that's going to throw NHCT outside of the realm of what they actually do. So we're talking about going from 3 bedrooms to probably a 5 to 6 bedroom home.
Please, you need 8 bedrooms because every child should have their own bedroom. But I'm just saying, what the hell? This is where a little bit of somebody says Jaron needs to stop having children. I mean, Jaron, you're my cousin and all, but I need to tell you the truth and what everybody else is saying out there. Yes, you need to stop having children. You need to be more responsible, right? As a non-professional, someone who doesn't have a degree, doesn't have a professional job, there's only so much money you could ever probably make unless you become a business owner and you hit gold and you find somewhere in the ground that we have what we call it, oil coming out of the ground, and then you become the next millionaire. So you've got to take some responsibility for your life and for your own actions, and don't put it all on government and other people. I cannot imagine anybody in this day and age thinking that having 8 children is a good idea. I mean, honestly, I would pay for you to get fixed. I'm just being completely serious now. If you want to get a vasectomy, I will personally sacrifice something in my life, because I don't know how much a vasectomy costs, but I will personally sacrifice something in my life to ensure that you don't have child number 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and so on. You can't do that anymore. It's not 25, 30, 50 years ago where when you had 8 children, right? Most of them might have been having it with the same woman, but you had 8, 9, 10 children. You had a village trying to help you. Even then, it was not easy. I come from a household of 8 children. And you know the havoc that caused and what living at that poverty level does to children? Like, I am just so fed up with the irresponsibility of parents. There are people in my family who didn't have opportunities because people wouldn't stop having children. So oh my God, I take listen, birth control works well, folks. Trust me, I'm 50 years old. I know, and I only have one by choice. Y'all need to be more responsible. And when you're not responsible, then, it's everybody else's fault why you can't have a decent life and you can't afford anything. Of course you can't afford anything. How are you going to afford to send those kids to university? And those children deserve a chance in life. Anyway, Jaron, do better. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Hi, good morning, Sandra. It's Tracy. I just wanted to put this out there. You know what? Is there any way that they would possibly consider giving Caymanians a discount in terms of purchasing property as opposed to expats?
I don't understand. Give you a discount from who?
A discount of owning property, like allowing them to own their own property here in their own country. So say, for example, a property is worth $500,000 and it's the same price for Caymanians versus expats. Maybe a Caymanian would have a discount because it's obviously a part of their country. Is that
who owns the land? You can't have government telling private landowners to discount their
No,
land. I mean,
Yeah.
if you own property, do you want private land government to tell you, well, you can't sell it for X amount?
No, that's true. That's true.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm just saying, like, something to encourage.
But here's the other thing, Tracy. Who do you think is selling the land? A lot of Caymanians have owned land and have owned prime real estate, and they've sold it for little to nothing. And they didn't care. They didn't care who they sold it to. They sold it to the highest bidder, whether they were Caymanian, foreigner, a dog with one leg. So once again, we need to be realistic about how we've ended up here and take some degree of responsibility. Some of my forefathers had land in South Sound, didn't see the value in land ownership and let it go for little or nothing so they could go shopping in Miami to buy 2 more pairs of shoes. And now I'm going to sit back and blame landowners in South Sound for owning all the quote unquote good land. Come on now. I need to blame my forefathers for not having any foresight and common sense.
No, and that's fair enough. I mean, we saw, the great sell-off after Ivan. I mean, places were going for nothing. And literally, like, even if you bought a place in South Sound in 2004, it'd be worth millions, even if you left it in rubble right now.
Here's what Damien said. The landowner would then refuse or ignore the Caymanian. So you'd have landowners not selling to Caymanians at all. If the government tried to say, well, if you sell it to Caymanian, you have to discount it. Think about that one a little bit more. All right, Tracy, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're most welcome, my dear.
Just to piggyback on her question, what she was just saying is that government's already doing that with the NHCD program because you get the land free. You're only paying for the cost of the construction cost. So we are already stretching thin and helping out as best as we can. We purchase the land, we give back the land and the infrastructure costs back to you. So you only pay what it costs for the construction of the homes.
Yeah.
To me, I think that is a reasonable deal because if we were really selling these lots right now as is, these homes would be about 350, 375 selling realistically.
Well, Jaron says it's none of his business how many kids he has. I'm not begging for help. We're looking for solutions to have a place for them. Jaron, that has to be one of the most ridiculous things I've heard. Of course it matters. Of course it's everybody else's business. You don't have children in isolation. You know what I'm saying? You're not in a little universe of your own. We all have a responsibility as Caymanians and citizens and people of this country to make better decisions. Your decisions have a trickle-down impact on your children, your family, and other people in this community. That's why it's our business. Yes, it is our business. I'm going to be very, very frank with you because I don't think anyone has been telling you the cold, hard truth about the irresponsibility of having all these kids. You think it's nobody's business, right? Are you able to afford to pay for these 8 children? The court records would reflect otherwise. I mean, let's not get me started here this morning. Those children deserve a certain standard of living and certain opportunities. And if they're not getting it, and the baby mamas are having to chase you down for payment, then yes, they deserve better, and that impacts the entire community. Jaron, you're going to be featured on this show in a couple days because you hit a man's car with no insurance and can't afford to pay that man back. Because, I have 8 children that I have to try and feed first. And you don't think your decisions have an impact on other people and it's other people's business? You better draw back and draw back fast. Because that's another show. We're not going to air our dirty laundry in front of the minister, but he can tune in for that episode. Yes, your decisions impact other people. Y'all need to stop being so selfish. Right? The more people in this country having children they cannot afford, they cannot take care of, that falls on the government. Let's be realistic, Jaron. And anybody else, including Wayne, who is supporting this nonsense and this foolishness, like I said, I'll pay for you guys to get a vasectomy. Clearly, you don't know how to use other forms of birth control. And it is what it is. Elizabeth says, Sandy, good answer to that Tracy lady. Girl. I mean, sometimes y'all just come up with ideas, excuse me, but they don't make no sense. I don't know how long you thought about that. if you're just on the first cup of coffee or what's going on in the coffee. But come on now. How can you? I always say to people, y'all want to have government encroach in your life, which I think is so interesting because really you don't, right? But you come up with all these ideas of why doesn't government do this and why doesn't government price control and until you're on the receiving end of it. When you're a business owner and government comes and tells you, well, you better lower your price, then you go, no, you can't do that. And then government says, but hold on. You told me I could do it with CUC. You told me I could do it with land prices. So now it's your turn. Be very, very careful what you ask government to do. Darlene says locals cannot afford to breed up the place. Nobody can, local or otherwise, right? The single predictor of living in poverty, and I feel very, very strongly about this, because like I said, I come from the situation, so I speak from experience. The single predictor of living in poverty is how many children you have. So say that to me again, Jaron, that it's nobody's business, right? We do not want our children being disadvantaged and living in poverty. It's not fair to them. It's ridiculous to think that way, and I think your thinking has to change. Anyway, like I said, we're going to talk about that in another show because that poor man has been chasing you down for his money, and he has said enough is enough. Good morning to, we have a few people messaging. By the way, the show number 9362626, feel free to call in. The WhatsApp on that number isn't on the computer at the moment, but I'm manually going through these messages. So this person says, regarding financing, Jamaica has the National Housing Trust worth looking into. Also, the huge Cayman pension income could invest 2% in 30-year mortgages for Caymanians. The huge pension income. Okay. Banks should recognize hospitality workers' tips as income when they make loan applications. Of course, the problem there is that's not a guarantee, but maybe they consider it to some extent. This person says, thank you, Miss Sandra. Okay. That was, appreciate the message. There's a social media training for senior C. Okay, we'll share that a bit later on. Some people send information about generators. Here's a question. Can you ask the minister about farmland in East End for lease to farmers? Again, this isn't directly in the National Housing Trust, but are you giving any farmland to farmers?
Yes, Sandra, I'm happy. I gave an announcement yesterday in the House, but I want to say that the land lease policy has been drafted. The farmland has been identified. We've carried a first draft of the, and it's a couple of collaborations between my ministry and lands, and we have identified the area and we have divided it out into 1 acre parcels. We have just applied for planning permission to be able to clear the roadway. We're just waiting on that. Lands and Survey has already started to identify the boundaries of it, and we should be ready to go and start to clear that roadway, I would say, before the end of this month. And once we start that, it is the matter of just starting to lease the property back to the farmers. It is a great initiative. It is something that when I went to Jamaica, I've seen where they did what they call agro parks, where they have 50 acres, 100 acres of property, and they did it in 1 acre lots, and what they leased it back. And what they actually built is they built a restroom in the middle of the property. They built a sorting facility room where they could actually go to and sort all of their stuff there. It is something that we've taken on here. And I'm happy to say that after 20 years of purchasing this property, we finally hit the milestone now where we're pushing ahead to be able to lease this back.
All right, very good. Most people are asking, what's the house lot of these homes? What kind of size lots are we looking at?
These lots range from 5,000 square foot up to 6,000. So they're more not just about average or above average as well, if you get it.
Very good. All right, folks. Any other questions? We have Andrea says that there are many lands being sold to build condos for rich people. Why can't government use some of these lands to build low-income housing? I think you've been missing the entire show, Andrea. So let's recap if we can, for the benefit of people who've joined late and obviously missed that discussion. How many existing sites for low-income housing does government currently have? How many sites is government attempting to procure? And what sort of construction dates are we looking at?
So, Sandra, let us start back from West Bay. We have the Lighthouse site that's going on right now that we're building the 19 homes on there. We have the Apple Blossom site that is going to be coming out of planning very shortly, which we have 50 odd homes there. We come down to the Georgetown site by in Eastern Avenue next to the old Cox Lumber. An RFP is getting ready to go out very shortly with that to do multi-story buildings in that one. We have also the empty lot and off of Linford Pearson. They have the NHCT has the Windsor Park affordable developing housing site there. We have the north side site which we're doing with the 45 homes on. We have that's additional, and we have the East End site that we're getting ready to do. And I think we're looking at about 30 odd homes in that particular site. And we just finished build out the Modern Town site. But what we're looking now to is land space in between Modern Town or Breakers, I would say, and Savannah, of where we could find another land that is perfect for us to be able to build affordable homes on or NHCT homes on. We want to what we wanted to try to get out of the stigma of these large plots that we always used to buy 10 acres, 20 acres at a time, and maybe start to look into smaller lot spaces, 2 acre lot spaces or 1 acre lot spaces where we can just go in, quickly move in with the infrastructure, maybe build 5-6 homes in that area instead of having everyone in one combined area of having 50 affordable homes in one section. I wanted to look at spreading it out a little bit more, and having more of a mixed use development style going forward. Is where we there's in the area in the Georgetown site. There's a lot that we're looking at in Georgetown that hopefully we can get sorted out very quickly. Where we would love to do a mixed use of a little bit of commercial and a little bit of housing also in there. So there's quite some sites that are going on. NECT has enough development sites actually on the move right now that can carry us to at least over 140 homes right now if we get them all built out at one time now.
Okay. All right. We have some additional questions. This person says Jaren's kids with 5 different baby mamas is supposed to be 12, but he only claims 8. Another person says maybe the father should be fixed instead of looking government to get fixed rates. This other viewer says anyone who has 8 kids is irresponsible. Millionaires don't even have that many and can afford them. West Indian men are too slack. What a hot mess. Miss Joy says, Jay, if you own your own land, would government help with those? Yes. So that question has already been answered. But just again, can we recap how that part of the program works if you are a landowner?
If you own your own land, and then obviously you're just gonna have to qualify to pay back the construction and development of the house in your land. So you would first have to, 1, qualify under the program, and 2, also demonstrate as well how you're gonna pay it back. So it could either be way, if you already have cash injection, then that would be considered. But if the fact is that you want to just pay for the cost of the construction, we would need that pre-approval with the banks as well before we actually get into building your property.
Okay, very good. All right. Soursop says, I was asking, could I sell my apartment that I have a mortgage for and buy a house as a first-time homeowner?
We've had that before. The program specifically says first-time property owner. If you have your apartment, you're in a better position from other individuals that are waiting. If we had the capacity to, that would be considered, but under these circumstances at this given time, there's a lot of other needed people as well.
Well, the other part of that coin is that that person, we have close to 700 people on the list, waiting list.
That have nothing.
Where does that person fall in the queue again?
Yes. Yeah. So Dean says, I agree, government should seize all the land on island like in China. What a hot mess. Okay. Andrew says that Jaren is being fruitful and multiplying, and she laughs. Yeah, what a hot mess. Darlene says, poor people make the babies, rich people have the money and adopt babies, but mostly dogs. Lord Jesus, help us. Lavella says, can anyone confirm if you can use your government pension? Also, can you make monthly payments directly to the National Housing? So just to clarify, the National Housing is no longer accepting payments. They're making you go directly to the bank and you deal with the bank for financing for the money part of it. And you'll be making your payments, signing your contracts, doing all of that, closing fees, everything with a financial institution. Is that correct, Mr. Ramos?
Yes, that is correct. Based on the model that we're doing with the house sales, that is correct. You have to make your mortgage or financing arrangement with the banks. As it relates to government pensions, yes, we understand that there's limitations in relation to pension contribution. So that shortfall, but you do have other institutions that are accommodating to government workers, such as the CIDD, as well as the credit union that you may want to consider. Some banks are flexible as well. It's all coming down to based on merit.
Right.
Payments of housing in the interim, no, we do not accept payments.
Right. Okay. So speak to the banks. You know, you can make an appointment and go in, folks, and meet with these lending institutions. I find a lot of them are actually, you know, accommodating, and at least they'll answer your questions to see what you potentially qualify for and what you don't qualify for. So Trevon, good morning, says, is there a policy in place for Caymanians to own a second property, especially North Side, where there's a discount on the stamp duty? So we've already answered that question as well. The previous Minister of Finance was talking about it. We're going to confirm whether or not that was ever put in place. But let me remind you, and I mean, obviously, Trevon, you're in a much better position than a lot of people who can't even get a first property. If you're looking for additional property, especially land, that's great. This is what Caymanians need to be doing: acquire land and hold on to it, right? Stop selling it to other people and then complaining that, oh, Caymanians can't own anything. The original landowners in this country were Caymanians. They weren't anybody else. And you guys have sold it. And then you sit back and complain. But what I would say, Trevon, is even if that policy has not been put in place by the previous Minister of Finance, what you can do, any property you acquire, you can always write and build a case for yourself to the current Minister of Finance and say, hey, I'm acquiring this property. This is going to be multi-generational investment. Make whatever arguments you want. And I want to see if I can get either a partial discount on the stamp duty waiver, or you consider a full discount. It's going to be as strong as your arguments, because that is a discretionary power. Now, I would, yeah, that's a discretionary power from the finance minister. So you're not going to know if you don't apply and go through the process and ask. Submit your paperwork and see what happens. And you'd be surprised, especially for Caymanian homeowners, how accommodating the finance ministers have been. Yeah. I mean, the past ones have been giving out, property and stamp duty waivers to big developers left, right, and center. So there has to be a trickle-down effect. And I think a lot of times they're happy to do so with Caymanians as well. Good morning, caller, and welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Morning, my dear. How are you?
Not too bad, but listen to what I can tell them.
Yes, ma'am.
I have property, but I can't afford to build on it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying, after you turn senior in this island, and I consider 69, 70 years old, not that old, because the banks that I spoken to, the lady at credit union, I read about that, and because something I was asking about borrowing money to do some windows or something, and she said, and then I tell her, I said, when they had a meeting, I said to her, I said, but after you turn a senior, they think, which nobody knows, how long they have to live. But then I explained to her, I say, if you get the money and you don't live to pay it back, well, they will have your property or whatever to sell, and they don't have to worry how they're going to get the money back once they get it back. And then she said, well, I say, and I do think that I got die too, if talking about how long your ancestors live, you got that you run in those genes, because my mother was 98 before she died. Her mother was 103 in 9 days before she died. So I'm sure the money would be paid back before you get because everybody keep telling me about you got a long span. Because when we wanted to sell my mother's house in with the conditions that she lived in it until she died, and then the other people could take it over because she had nowhere else to live. Somebody said, well, they wouldn't buy that house because you will never get that because they come from long span people. So what I'm saying is, they don't want, and then she told me, well, come in and see us, come in and see us. I said, because I don't have to worry where the money coming from so long as I get it back. And she said, well, come in. So this is why we're asking, because I have the property, but I don't have the means to build. But then we must lose to deal with credit union. And like I say, I'm going to be 69 this year if I live to see August 12th. My husband is 70 and retired. But they're not going to let you know. And I've even bought, she said, well, come and see us, come talk last week. I said, well, no, I ain't coming because I'm like, I raise up my pressure and then I got dead from the pressure. So that's how it go. Once you turn a senior in this island, it look like they penalize you for getting old. So that's all I can say. Can't get nothing.
All right, caller. Thank you so much.
Don't care what you have to pay back. They don't want to lend you nothing once you're about past senior citizens. So it look like they penalize you for being senior.
Well, I mean, just something to think about, right? If you were in the money loaning business, okay, and someone by law no longer has a job after the age of 65. I mean, some people do work past that, but the vast majority of people they're on a fixed income. They're not going to have a job bringing in any additional income. They might have mental and cognitive declines. I mean, let's face it, once you're past a certain age, I mean, all of us, our numbers might be limited, but yeah, you might have longevity in your family. But when you look at the average person, 65 plus, you're in borrowed time, as the good book says. Would you want to take on the risk of loaning to those people?
Listen, you don't have to have a job to have income to be able to pay.
No, that is true. But if you can show the bank where the income is coming from and that it is a regular income.
Coming from pension, from government?
No, but I'm saying most banks will consider that. Because banks always ask you.
30 odd years ago, we just getting the benefits now. So that's what I'm saying. But then they still don't want to take that in consideration. So what you must do then? You're now they're stealing or selling yourself to get the money. That's what I tell them. You coming from somewhere, but then it sounds like the fact that once you're a senior, don't care where you got coming or where coming from, they don't want to consider to lend you nothing. That's what I'm saying. You understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Okay, and then like I say, they don't have to worry if it were even whatever drug money or whatever. They don't got worry where it coming from so long they getting their money and it's not them doing it. So this is what I'm saying. Once you become a senior, you can't get nothing.
All right,
and whoever will agree with me, if you got a means to pay, well, why age got to do with it?
All right, caller.
So that's why I win me border. I got to stay with what I got, and when I dead, well, everything dead.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it. 936-2626 is the telephone number. I think most places in the world, age does matter when you're looking at an individual's risk with all sorts of things in life, even health insurance. You're going to pay more the older you are. Somebody was saying to me yesterday, they got denied for health insurance because, they're obese. And I said, well, I pay more for life insurance, health insurance too, but I pay more for life insurance because I'm considered obese too. And they weigh quite a bit more than me. And I'm like, sometimes you gotta take it, you gotta take it. Morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Morning. I just want to add on to what the previous caller was saying. I think that's a good example of why we need to shift the mentality of our young Caymanians. We need to teach them money management from a very young age and stop encouraging them to go out and get a brand new Benz and they can't put gas in it. We have to change the mentality. Look for property and housing and so forth. Make that a priority.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, going to the bank and borrowing money for a car, save that money for a down payment on a house. It takes you can get a 7-year car loan for a brand new car that costs you $35,000-$40,000. That could be your down payment on a piece of property right there.
Mm-hmm.
We have to shift the mentality and teach our young Caymanians, get something when you're young.
Mm-hmm.
Pay it off as soon as you can, and then get an additional property.
That's true. That is very true. I mean, I don't know.
It is
what
unfortunate
I don't know,
that when you reach a certain age, you can't get anything. But that's just how it is. So we have to shift the mentality now. Like, don't wait until you're 40 to get a house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
that's just
I appreciate that, caller, and I think we've all made that mistake where we put other priorities ahead of home ownership, because if that's what your real goal is, most of these young people out there are getting car loans, which they can get very, very easily, drive around a car and have nowhere to even park it.
Exactly.
They packing up and moving apartments every other week because they're not even paying their apartments and their rent. So I think it comes with a re-education. Yeah. We have to re-educate our people.
Thank you.
Thanks, caller.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Quite a few people are asking the question about how long does the application process take. So we have both KK asking that question and a few others. Once they apply with NHDT, how long does that actually take?
Okay. That's one area we need to improve, Ms. Sandra. Ideally, it should not necessarily be a long and drawn-out process. However, because we have a backlog of applications and we've had the delays in projects, that is why it's taking longer than what it should be. And in essence, we do not necessarily want individuals to apply just to tell them, listen, we do not have any projects going on. But as such, we still want to consider their application for the future. Ideally, it should not necessarily take no more than 1 or 2 months. But if we were to take an application now and attend to that application, we still have the backlog of individuals who are waiting. So a lot of individuals who we have in the backlog, we've already pre-assessed them. It's just that they're waiting on that opportunity. As expressed, we have over 700 applications, and it's a matter of basically saying, you know what, we're going to do a reset button. No, that is not necessarily a good courtesy to them as well, because they need some solutions. We just built 19 in West Bay, where we had over 300 that are waiting. As such, we're going to tell them, listen, in this run, you were not successful because we do not have sufficient, but we are considering you in the next run. So we are basically refreshing the position. The minister has spoke to what we want to do at the other site. And we encourage individuals to apply, keep on checking. And the way it works is that if we provide an individual a response and they're not successful, then we pass it on to another individual that's waiting in line. So in an ideal world, if we were carrying everything at the right pace of development, and also funding and all opportunities, it would be no more than a month to assess individuals have one place. But we're not in that scenario, not here in Cayman.
All right. Miss Brenda is saying, good morning, Minister Ebanks. Would you consider changing the property law here that only Caymanians can buy property here like they do in some countries like Switzerland?
That's a question for the entire government. I wouldn't want to answer that without the input of everybody else, and to put the government into any binding situation or saying that I said this or didn't say that. So I would actually take it and carry it to the government, and we can actually come back and give you back an answer on that one.
Is it the case that Caymanians can't just make better decisions? Like everything has to be the government is forcing our hand. If Caymanians don't want foreigners to own their land, then don't sell it. I mean, I'm always shocked at the Caymanians that get on these talk shows and lambast the DART organization, for example. Oh, he buying up everything, blah, blah, blah. And then 2 weeks later, I hear that same Caymanian got property in West Bay, family land, that they run into DART to see if DART can buy it. I've heard in no of those specific situations. And I was shocked. I'm like, that can't be the same person who was just on the radio talking about, yeah, DART doing everything and y'all making it buy everything. And then when they had a parcel of family land that they were trying to sell, who did they run to?
Well, Sandy, you're absolutely right. I mean, we've had individuals that we have approached about buying property, and when we talked to them about it, the first thing they said, hey, DART is willing to pay me more for this property than what you guys are willing to pay. So they're selling it. They prefer to sell it to him than to go to a worthy cause of the NECT, where we can help build homes for Caymanians. I guess it's just the name of the game.
Hot mess. I mean, I don't know what do our people, but anyway, this person says, I agree. Oh, we got a caller in the line. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandra. How are you?
Not bad. How you doing?
I'm good. I have two questions, or one question and one input. One of my questions is for Julio. I know people that have applied and they have not even gotten a response as to say yes, nay, no, nothing. Not even yes, I received your application. Who says who's responsible for that? Because I mean, first point, communication is key.
Yes.
So if you're not going to communicate with someone that you have received their application and it's in limbo and they're assuming that everything is okay because they have not heard from you to say it's declined, defer, or you're approved, then what happens to that person? And then the other thing in regards to the caller that called in, I know for a fact that Scotiabank, when you borrow money for a mortgage, a credit card, or a car loan, it's now insured. So God forbid you pass away, it's being covered by the insurance. You see that small portion come out every month or added on every month and it stays there. It's insurance, INS, and it's right there. It can be $30, $9. I don't know. It's according to what you borrow.
I think it's like 50 cents on every $100 bill that you spend on your credit, on your debit, on your MasterCard.
Your car loans too. I know that for a fact that your car loan has an insurance, because a couple of years ago when my husband went to the bank to buy his car, they told him that they said, okay, this little portion is for the insurance. Anything happens to you, the car is paid off. So when people do go to the bank, I think they expect to have the answer, the bank loan officer to have answers for everything. If you don't ask the question, you're not going to get the answer.
Right.
Right. So you go to a bank, you borrow money, you ask them, listen, is there any hidden fees? Is there somehow I can apply an insurance if God forbid anything happens to me, that my child, my son, my daughter, my husband doesn't have to pay this because they may not have the funds? People expect you to read their minds. I'm not criticizing anyone, but when you go to an interview at the bank for a mortgage or a loan or a car loan or a credit card, these are questions you should answer. Sorry.
Yeah. Somebody's asking you to turn your radio down as well because you're still getting a lot of feedback. I'm not sure how
what
you're listening
happened.
to it.
I'm overseas, so I don't know what's happening. I think it's probably, I'm far away.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think they heard. I think they heard it.
Okay. Bye.
Yeah. Thanks, my dear.
Okay. Bye.
All right.
So to answer that question for that lady, right? She did, she talked about it being hard. I know Mr. Ramos had mentioned that before. Those are areas that he talked about that we need to improve on, and we're working to improve on those. How do we get back? How do we keep engaged with the people? So it is something that I've tasked him with, to ask him to get out there to make sure that everyone knows and at least get back to them and say, hey, this is what's happening and where we're at. But as a list of 700 people, that's a lot. That's a lot of database to keep touching base with everyone all the time, to keeping them up to date on what's happening. I see where there's one person that's talking about information for getting hard for finding information. The housing trust is just starting to set up their Instagram page. Do
y'all have a website? Because I agree with Chevrolet. I couldn't even find a website for you guys.
So we're in the process of doing it right now. Well, I think it's up and up.
I mean, now listen, I'm gonna give you your licks where you deserve it. How long? National Housing Trust been around?
Several years, and that's why I made sure that I told them, so look, we have to get up. Matter of fact, not only housing, all of my departments, I've told them they have to get up at the time.
I mean, this is it's like getting up to times. This is 10 years ago.
So
I mean, you have a website, people can go on there, they can see the qualifications, see the forms, submit it online. I mean, this is old time school stuff now. Come on now, government, get with the program.
Yeah. I tasked all of my departments that they had to get all of these pages up. And if you look right across, agriculture has been doing it. Housing is going up with the Instagram pages now, and getting ready to push into Facebook too. Planning is starting to go into their own stuff too.
Planning, to their credit, they actually have a very good website.
So, we not only that, but we want to engage with the people a little bit more to make them know what happens behind the background of everything. Because a lot of people just say, well, I've been in planning for 3 months, but what's going on? But nobody knows the step by step and everything, and how long it takes one reviewer to oversee one set of a drawing before it goes to that stage. So it's a learning curve. It's an educational curve for all of the departments to push out their feedback. Because then if we do that, we get less questions asked about these kind of things.
Mm-hmm. Moya says, to be honest, I had an application with NHDT from like 2012 and updated it a couple of times, but never get a response on it.
Our database, when we were revamping, because we had a void where we never did development. And what we did, we went back to all applications and obviously to get updated information, and we reached out to a lot of individuals. What we found is that individuals changed the number and their contact details. So that is a refresh position. Whenever we were resuming projects, that's why for individuals, we asked them if they were still interested in such information. So what we encourage individuals to do, even so, like you're right, get up to speed in terms of the technology and that of innovation. It should be a section there that say, hey, I've applied so and so, what else do I need? We can just filter down and give you the application, and you fill all the missing information.
Mm-hmm. All right, we do have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Morning.
And good morning to Minister Ebanks. And sorry, I didn't catch the name of the other
Mr.
gentleman.
Julio Ramos, General Manager at National Housing Trust.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
Okay. Minister?
Yes, ma'am.
Do something that I don't normally do. I'm going to tell you who I am. I am Brenda Archer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm presently retired. I am a former banker. I am Caymanian. And I have seen lots of things happen during the time that I worked. And those things got thrown at the wayside. Back then, Caymanians were protected. And that's why I asked the question, would you consider changing the laws? I heard your answer, so I have another piece to that. But that's the reason I asked that question, because you, as a representative of the people, if we're asking you to bring that to your government, then you should do that. Because what we have to be looking at right now, we have to look at ways to stop what's going on. Other islands in the Caribbean do it. Major European countries do it. I think there's some places in Canada that does it. And that would also remedy one of the issues I heard another caller speak about, having land. So if you're Caymanian, only Caymanians can buy land, then you know what? I don't like to use the word force, but for those Caymanians who own land, then I think they will keep it much longer. Someone else brought up the point about finance management. Yes, I've been echoing that for a long time. Just like we teach our children hygiene in the home, we need to be teaching them about finance management. But again, the structure, the overdevelopment, the rapid development that is happening here has changed the way Caymanians are used to living and we're used to surviving. And that is why they're doing things out of the norm. While I do not support a young person going to get themselves in debt in the bank for a car and I don't care what kind of car it is almost a necessity for them to be able to get from point A to point B. Once upon a time, one car per household could suffice. That's not the case anymore. We have to look at ways to stop these things. And it has to start with someone or somewhere. And as a Caymanian, and to you, sir, a young Caymanian, a representative of the people, and I might say one of the most popular ones, make your mark, leave a legacy behind that when your children, my grandchildren, hear your name, they can say, oh yes, that was Mr. J that did that for us. That's why we benefit from that today. Nobody has to go there and pick up the mantle that was there before and just continue doing the wrong thing. Someone has to say, enough is enough. My people are suffering. Let's look at this from a standpoint now of preserving, if we can even do that anymore. So,
well, Miss Brenda,
yeah,
I have written that down earlier about that property law protection that you asked about. And as I did say, I was going to carry it to the government to come up to see what creative ways we could come up with so that we could actually get back to you. So I do have it written down. And if you would love to maybe send me a message so that I can get your number later on and I can keep you up to date. My number is 916-4249. And you can get me or send me a WhatsApp.
Just give me a sec. I have to write that down.
916-4249.
4249. Okay.
Send me a WhatsApp and then I can keep you engaged on where we're at with it.
Okay. And I just want to say this, Minister J. I know that you all cannot be everywhere at the same time. That is why I am a strong pusher and supporter of the district councils, because they are the bridge to the communication with the minister. We really, at least I, do not expect any representative to be able to go to every single person in their constituency. But if we had councils, the councils could spread out and do it. And when they meet, of course, you can't bring everything, but you look at take 5, these are the most important issues. And then whoever's chairing that council, now they're going to meet with the representative to say, this is what my constituency wants, needs. This is what we'd like to see at least started before the next election. That would be a helpful way there in reaching everyone. But no one seems to want to be bold enough to say, we are going to implement district councils. You don't have to answer me on that. That's fine. I just need to know that.
No, but Ms. Brenda, I can actually answer you on that because I can give you my position on that. I've been an advocate for district councils for quite some time. I was actually a part of a district council at one point in time when under Mr. Miller. So I know how effective it can work when it's running properly, and to be able to have people that are actually in your district that are engaged across sector of everybody to be able to bring the feedback to the minister or to that representative at the same time, so that it's not only just about me one carrying everything forward, but it's about multiple people, not us all working together for the benefit of the people in that constituency. So I wish we could have them. We should have them going years ago.
Well, the Constitution says that it must be. And while I'm not a lawyer, I am familiar with certain legal terminologies. And when something says shall, it means must. It's not optional. It's not multiple choice. Correct. And when it says must, it means must. That too is not multiple choice. And I keep asking the question, why is it being refused? Every new government criticized the previous government, and that's not true either, because in fairness to Mr. Bush, from West Bay. He was all for it, but he too was being fought down. And then the other administrations came in. They wanted nothing to do with it. Everyone who was vying for a seat castigated them. The majority of them now have a seat, and they are running from it. So we, the Caymanian people, we want answers. We need to know. We are getting wiser. We are.
I think a lot of people are worried about the district council. I don't know if they're afraid to be held accountable by them. I don't know if that's why. Personally, I'm up for the task. I would love. I like when people hold me accountable to get things done. And it's a better, to me, it's a better way of engaging to get my work done, to knowing what my people want also, because it's not every single day that I can be out there talking with everyone.
Exactly.
So I'm somebody that's happy to have it engaged, and I'm happy to bring that to the government again to ask them when can we push to get district councils going.
It is not, and regardless of what it was designed for, it's in there. Just like the Bible says, "Thou shalt not kill." Okay, it's in there, and for me, it wouldn't be about holding anyone accountable, because we have to accept we may not get everything that we would like or that we need in a 4-year period, but at least it would be a good showing that the representatives want to engage with the people who voted them in. And they need to realize not everybody is asleep anymore. People are waking up now. So getting elected may not be as easy this next election as it was in the previous ones. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I am going to make it my mission to educate any person 18 years plus, and even younger if they want to listen. I'm going to educate them on 2 things. And that's finance management and the power of voting. So they can love me now or hate me now, or they can do it later. But as a Caymanian, I owe that to my people. I am not planning to go anywhere else to live. This is what my forefathers left. I have 3 granddaughters. There should be something left for them and for theirs and for those after them. So everybody needs to start thinking and saying, we need to get this done. The Caymanians have been left behind for too long. And not by you, I'm not blaming this on you, by the system. And no one has had the backbone to say enough is enough. And every time one person gets up and dares to venture that, they get locked out the gate. You're seeing that happen over and over. So we need to elect more people who are not afraid to get up and say enough is enough, because they can't lock everyone out. That I know for sure.
Thank you very much, caller.
Sandra, I want to say one more thing to Minister. Minister, do you have a follow-up on a question I had asked you some time ago regarding the turning lane coming from east to the Savannah post office? I know you were sending messages and stuff at the same time, but can you give me an update on that?
Yes, ma'am. The NRA has come up with a design for that turning. You're talking about the one by the post office?
Yes, the Savannah post office.
Yes. So the NRA has come up with a design for that, which we should be putting out to the public very shortly. And there was just some talks of with the landowners that were in the back, and I think a little bit with education also, because we would have to take a little bit of property from the school. But if we can
incorporate something that I was going to say, because the school does not have a proper turning lane either. So
yes, ma'am.
Design it so that it could suffice both.
It's all in the making. So I will follow up with the director of NRA, because he should have all of that ready to go, so that we can actually put it out on social media. And also, if you send me a WhatsApp, I gave you my number earlier, I'll be able to send you maybe a concept of it so you can see for yourself too, because I know you've asked me on that the last time I was on the Radio Cayman show. So, and I did take it to them, and they started to work on it. And I know I saw a preliminary one, and it was just talks with the landowners of if this could actually work to get that in there. So I will send you an update on that too.
Okay,
all right,
Minister, thank you so much for hearing me. And just so that you know, I support you very much and I do admire you. Otherwise, I wouldn't give you the time of my phone call. So
thank you so much, Brenda. Thank you.
Compliment, okay?
Thank you so much, caller.
Okay.
We are obviously the minister has to go. I'm aware that he's in Parliament. So we're going to go ahead and thank you again, Minister, for coming on the program today.
Yes. Sandy, what I wanted to thank everybody, and I've I've written down a lot of the information here. But one thing I wanted to just touch base, I saw a little social media thing going on yesterday saying that about this these removal of these yellow lines on Hawkins Drive, I think it was, and someone was for some reason they were shifting the blame, saying that I was the one to blame of removing this, and I was just the messenger and the carrier of a decision making of a body. So I want to make people well aware that I had no talks with this board. I just know what they had, the decision that they came up with. They presented that to me and in writing, and for me to carry. I mean, I could have actually just sent it on in writing, and it wouldn't have went to the Parliament. It could have went directly to the MP, and then nobody would have known. But I want to be transparent with it, so I decided. I said, no, I think we need to come to the Parliament. We need to say it out so that people know what is happening. So that's why I took it on my behalf to carry the letter out there to answer the question that the MP Barbara had posed. And as I've sent you a copy of what that board entails of, is the Director of License, the Commissioner of Police, the Managing Director of the National Roads Authority, the Chief Officer responsible for roads, but also in a panel of member from Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. That assists of the panel that made this decision. And I just want people to know that it was not a decision of mine. I was only a creature of instructions to carry this forward. And that's what I have done.
All right, one final call. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, honey child. How are you?
Morning, not bad. How are you?
I am blessed and highly favored beyond all measures.
Very good.
Good morning, Minister.
Good morning, Mom.
My question is for you regarding what transpired yesterday.
I think he may have just answered it. Did you hear him?
That.
No.
Okay.
No, I just came back on. Sorry.
Yeah, he just answered it.
What was the answer?
Minister, you want to repeat yourself?
Okay. I was just letting everyone know that the decision making to remove the yellow lines on Hawkins Drive was not from the government or from me as the minister. I was only a creature of instructions carrying this forward from what the board had decided. I could, as I said, it could have went directly in writing to MP Barbara, and no one would have known until they seen the lines removed. But I told my team at the time, I said, no, I think it has to go to Parliament so that people know what is happening. And that's why I carried the letter forward with their decision-making forward to Parliament, answering the question that Ms. Barbara had put to the Traffic Management Council. And that is where we ended up there. It was not a decision of mine to remove it. It was not a decision of anybody or part of the government to remove those yellow lines also. So I just wanted to make sure we got that clear, because I didn't want you to think that you were blaming that I was the one to go out and say that these yellow lines had to be removed.
So even though the board made that decision, government had no say into it or even question why. And why I say that, bear in mind, Marian Pandui from NRA, our Commissioner of Police, did a tour with us, and they saw the congestion on that said road, how narrow it is. They saw parking on the streets, And Marian Tandui stated she would request for double yellow lines to go down. Now, this went to the board and it was approved by the TMP board. Now, after it was approved by the TMP board, that MP Barbara started to have a fit about it to please her voters, which is only 4 homes down in that corner who constantly parking on that side of the road, including Sergeant Montague, who is a part of this RCIPS, and parking on that street. And she just wanted to support them into securing her votes. The last time I checked, lives are more important than votes. And it was placed there for security reasons. Since the lines went down, no one parks on that street anymore. So what? They're removing the lines now to allow people to park on the street. God forbid, if something was to happen to someone due to those lines being removed, and all faults would be on MP Barbara. It's not.
I will tell you, Wanda, what you can do is maybe you should voice your concern back to the Traffic Management Council and again state exactly what you said and take it from there. This is why we have boards, because the government doesn't have to get involved into every single decision making. And if we start to get into telling boards what to do, what decisions to make, then there's no need for us to have boards anymore. And this is a board of that the commissioner himself sits on. So I would think that his decision weighs heavily on making this going forward.
My question is, it went to the the TMP board for approval. It went back to the TMP board again to remove. Now that makes sense. That was political influence, political interference. And I am going to get a lawyer and to take charge with this, because on no board should be political driven. None.
Well, I just want to clarify that you're not stating that I had anything to politically driven on within the board, because that is not true.
No, you didn't, but Barbara did. And P. Barbara did.
I can't say anything about that. I
have proof of it.
I brought it to Parliament to make everyone know.
I have proof of that. The MP Barbara instigated that. You understand? Because then she made a video stating, and the guy that made the video saying that anybody can get them removed, it would be Miss Barbara, and she's sure gonna get them removed. I mean, it's all for safety in our communities. I was so shocked yesterday to see not one member question that. Why was that? What was the reason they were down for? Why did they approve it and turn around and see now they approved to remove it? Does that make sense? Waste of time and waste of money. That's all I see it.
All right, caller. Thank you very much.
I'm taking it further there. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Again, this has been an issue down in the Windsor Park area. Some residents are complaining that they don't have anywhere to park. Other residents are saying, knock down your walls in front of your property, park in your yard, park anywhere else. Just don't park in the street. It's endangering kids. It's a very contentious situation down in that area for sure. They're putting the blame on MP Barbara because I think her position, and she supported at least one side of the double yellow lines being removed. Lack of foresight and lack of planning. Let's be very, very clear, because what has happened down in Windsor Park and the way that people have put all those tenement yards with 1 million people living down in there, it wasn't designed from a planning perspective and a road perspective. It simply was not designed to have that kind of population density.
It was, yeah. You're correct.
And that is the underlying problem. Mm-hmm. And nobody wants to move out. Nobody wants to say, okay, I can't have a 2-3 bedroom house with 10 people living in it, because everybody wants all that money for rental income every single month. So once again, nobody wants to make the personal sacrifice that is necessary to really address the underlying issue. This issue is not going to go away, double yellow lines or not. There's too many people in Windsor Park and everybody has a car. Who is willing to give and take? Everybody wants to take, nobody wants to give. Minister, we appreciate you coming on the program. Mr. Julio Ramos, who is the general manager for the National Development Housing Trust. We also appreciate you coming in the program. We know we've been begging you for a minute. Finally got you here, and look at that. Fantastic show. Nobody bit you. You're still alive. You're still good. You'll be all right. And so now we have a commitment that finally the National Housing Development Trust will get a website. We're going to give y'all a couple months to work on that before we start calling you out again. We appreciate it. And the minister said better lines of communication, a better system of following up with people. You know, Mr. Ramos, there are programs that will help you, you know, just set up reminders for your admin staff. Somebody submits an application, when they need to be sent an email reminder of where their application is, or when they need to get a little phone call. There are what they call CRM programs out there that can make it all super easy for you to do the proper follow through. So we'll leave that for you to explore and look into. Thank you both so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Take care. Cayman Islands, have a wonderful day.
All right. Have a safe weekend as well. All right. So thanks so much. Your hand is in the house. He says reality check. All CIG boards are made up of political appointees confirmed by the government of the day and cabinet, etc. But some boards have not been changed. So not all boards, because they haven't even gotten around to it. So Marshall says when election time comes around, vote out MP Barbara. Well, they had a chance and they didn't do it. So I don't know what to tell y'all. Cayman Action Kind Committee says, did they question all who live in the street and got their opinions? Denver says there's no giving and taking. Therefore, government needs to set the rules and eliminate what needs to be done. Lack of proper viable transportation, says Aliano. Let's take a little commercial break. Folks, we've got about 15 minutes left in the program. Excuse me. We'll come back after these brief messages, and then I'll tell you guys what to look forward to for the weekend. All right, 1 second. It's still loading. I forgot to upload this one earlier. Couple seconds. 3, 2, 2.1, 2.3, 2.1 quarter. This is what you call bad math. All right, give me 1 second here. I'm just going to load this up. Did you guys see the video with Debbie? Man, Debbie has gone viral. She's trending all over Jamaica as well. That's the construction Debbie. What a hot mess.
Do you own a Honda vehicle? There is currently an urgent safety recall regarding faulty Takata airbags in Honda vehicles in the Cayman Islands. As affected vehicles get older, a combination of high temperatures and humidity can affect airbags with the fault. If you're involved in a collision, the airbag can go off with too much explosive force, causing sharp metal fragments to shoot out and kill or seriously injure people in the vehicle. To check whether your vehicle is affected, go to carcity.ky/recalls. CarCity will replace any defective airbags completely free of charge. If your vehicle is not affected, you will require a letter from CarCity stating so for your next vehicle licensing inspection. Without this, your vehicle will not pass. Please contact our service team to arrange this. The safety of you and your family is important to us, so please take the time to check if your vehicle is affected by this urgent Honda safety recall.
Have you completed and returned your business survey forms? The deadline for the annual business surveys is June 16, 2023. The surveys are confidential under the Statistics Act and exempt from the Freedom of Information Act. Your response matters. Do your part. Fill out and return your forms to the Economics and Statistics Office. For assistance in completing the forms or for more information, visit www.eso.ky or call 244-4676 or 244-4600.
Crichton Properties is one of Cayman's most trusted real estate companies for over 50 years. We offer a diverse selection of property listings and help our clients navigate the world of buying or selling their properties with confidence. Crichton is a name you can trust with our excellent customer service and family-friendly touch. Contact us today to list your home, land, or condo for sale by calling 949-5250 or email at info@crichtonproperties.com.
All right, K-Man. I know a lot of you are upset when we ran out of ghost pepper wings at Popeyes, but don't worry, I got your back, baby. Introducing the all-new ghost pepper chicken sandwich. And this one packs even more heat. Juicy chicken breast marinated in ghost pepper seasoning, breaded, fried, and topped with fiery ghost pepper mayo. Woo-wee, it kicks! The ghost pepper chicken sandwich has arrived at Popeyes. Available in regular or deluxe, but only for a limited time. Come and try the real heat for yourself before it's too late at Popeyes, Eastern Avenue.
All right, folks, welcome back to the program. Thank you guys so much. So we have a poll running. We're going to share this. I was actually looking at, we're just using the free option right now for this poll. And honey child, can I tell you something? Just looking at the results. So far, let me pull it back up so you guys can go and vote in this. So 1 second. You scan the barcode, go and vote. I was looking at, because we're just looking at the free option for right now, but honey child, this poll is expensive. We got to figure out how to pay for this around here if we want it, because nothing in life is free. Yes, if y'all want this option, the pricing for this system to where you get numbers that really, start to make a difference and matter. Ooh, honey child, we're going to have to start twerking on a poll to be able to afford this. No, sir. Nothing in this world is free. That's all I can tell you. Better figure out a plan on how to pay for it. So I got to put on my thinking cap now. And if we're going to do this, if this is going to be worthwhile and a good way to get real-time interaction and feedback from people, you guys got to be using it for it to make sense. Do we figure out how to get this sponsored perhaps or something? I don't know. Let me put on my thinking hat. And maybe there's an option that's similar to this that's not quite as expensive, because there's a lot of competitors out there in the same space. So I had just messaged some of my tech guys and I said, look at this for me. I like the concept. I like the idea. Find me a cheaper option, because I'm not one of those who can say I can afford 8 children, because I'm not flexing like that. I got a budget. I'm just saying. I got a budget. So y'all make sure you tune in next week, because the man who Jaron owes money for fixing his car, he's going to come on the show. And he wants to know, since you claim that it's none of your business, why don't you fix my car? Because I'm a poor person out here who's now been impacted because of your poor decisions. Y'all need to sometimes just keep your mouth shut around here. Debbie the Devil. If you missed it, when was that? Day before yesterday? Was it yesterday or the day before? Gosh, the days just get all smushed together. Debbie in the construction business, honey child, she trying to defend her ridiculous behavior. But I can tell you why. She's even made it international. She gone to Jamaica. Jamaican contractor worker in Cayman exposed her unprofessional Jamaican worker who defamed her. This is the headline. This guy is so funny. He has a really funny program. But child, Debbie gone large and large. So them say. But this is all over the news, making Cayman look bad. Now, come on now. You all know I can't defend some of this foolishness. Okay? These are not, well, the one guy said he got his Cayman passport. He's naturalized, so he Caymanian now. But these are, for all intents and purposes, 2 Jamaicans in a mix-up situation. Making Cayman look bad. Doesn't look good for anybody. And now we're hitting the international news on this as well. Seriously? No TD. And poor Debbie, I don't know what universe she's living on, but she talking about, oh yeah, she has a good relationship with Dale Crichton over at Finn. She can go back and work with him. I know one thing. She better check that out, because that's not happening. I don't know where y'all be getting your information from, but my sources say under no circumstances will he ever work with her again. Just take a snippet of it.
People. Que pasa, suck, say what they do. Welcome to Crime Time News, where the difference is in the meds. Call it news with a buzz.
Yes, sir.
This one is called Be Very Careful Who You Hire. Jamaican workmen have the worst attitude, and they are the least professional. Not all of them are. However, you have some of them, they will give you attitude. They want body up. They want act disrespectful in your place. And people, sometimes I understand that the employer he has or she has an attitude. I am speaking about a video that has been making its round, or a couple of videos that have been making its round, with a lady. Her name is Debbie Brown. She operates a building business in the Cayman Islands. She has been doing it for in excess of 20 years. She is well known. The other day, she hired a young man from Jamaica. His name is Mr. Rajesh Knowles. This is his picture right here. This is Debbie's picture right here. Apparently, there's been some sorts of breakdown in a communication with the price and with whatever was supposed to be done. And people, Mr. Knowles, he put it out on social media, making this lady look very, very bad. I am going to show the video, and then I am going to give my piece. Then I am going to get the response from this lady, Mrs. Brown, in some sorts of audio, some sorts of voice note. Then I am going to show you the reaction of Mr. Knowles once again. So people, take a listen, take a look at the video, and then I'll give my piece.
Me no want no more. Alright, cool. Don't tell if you do want done. This the This the why not? Yeah, this was in it. I used to let this the day night. This was in it.
All right, so we've seen those videos already. The point there, folks, is it's now making the rounds all over the place, all over social media, Jamaica and beyond. Here is the latest video with him responding to this whole fiasco.
People, I heard that Miss Debbie went on a live stream claiming that she didn't know my immigration status and she just wanted to help me. Miss Debbie, you're only incriminating yourself. And why are you admitting that you're working with illegal immigrants? Furthermore, I was born in the beautiful island of Jamaica. And I'm a proud Caymanian citizen, British Overseas Territory. I saw your ads on the EK Trade platform, said that you wanted some work done. And as a Caymanian, I just came to do some work to take care of my Caymanian family. That's it.
What a hot mess. What a hot mess, I tell you. Anyway, folks, that just is a hot situation. Today's Thursday. I will not be here live tomorrow or Monday. Got business to take care of, but we'll have some content scheduled for you, so please tune in. We've got a segment of Cayman Voices that you do not want to miss. This is actually quite amazing. I learned a lot about even my own family history that I thought was quite interesting. So please tune in for that. I do wish for you guys to have a safe weekend. Again, every single week we got in here and I'm begging you guys don't drink and drive. Some of y'all clearly are not listening based on the number of accidents that we have in our roadway. But nonetheless, you know, I ask anyway, if you'd at least consider other people. Go vote in the poll. So far, 71% say yes. Should government prevent Caymanians from selling land to foreign nationals? 29% no. Not a whole lot of people voting, which is quite interesting. Vote and let your voices be heard. Do you want government telling you who you can and cannot sell your land to? Simple as that. Participate in the poll, and we'll discuss the results a little bit later on. All right, beautiful folks. I think that's more or less what we've got for you. We're going to be doing a show next week on some more scammers. We're outing them as many as we can. Believe me, the list is quite long. So one day at a time, sweet Jesus. We're going to keep it going. Miss Brenda says, bring me back some M&Ms with almonds. You can't find those in Cayman? I didn't know they were in high demand. But yes, sometimes it's the simple things you cannot find. Here, KK, Miami, here comes Sandy. What a hot mess. Anyway, folks, be good, be safe, have a fantastic weekend, and, you know, just take care of yourself and your family. We're going to get through this one day at a time, honey chill. Okay. Oh, I need to go check on my honey child mugs today. Oh, let me go and message Miss Kathy right now before I forget. All right, beautiful people. See you on Tuesday. But tune in anyway, because we'll have other content for you, okay? Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.